It's going to be more focused on the school and making it come alive.
It'll be like the Barnes and Nobles.
Well, that similar. Yes. So, and not saying that there won't be a lot of boarding stuff, but I know there was on.
No. Where's hearing? Sir, we're good.
Okay, let me. Good morning. Call the meeting to order for the Board of Supervisors for July 18th. Roll call.
Supervisor Foy? Here. Supervisor Long?
Here.
Supervisor Bennett?
Here.
Supervisor Parks? Here. Supervisor Zaragoza?
Here. Okay, please help me salute our flag. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our next item is minutes of the County of Ventura Special Districts for June 19th and 20th. What's the pleasure of the board? And a first and a second, please vote. And that is approved. Mr. Powers, agenda review.
Thank you, Chair Zaragoza. Item 12, CEO's Office, adoption of a resolution authorizing the county to act as the administrative entity for State Emergency Solutions Grant. Request removal from the agenda.
Item 12.
Item 12. Item 27, Human Services, approval of an agreement to California Department of Social Services to provide legal services to HSA. A revised board letter and a revised Exhibit 1 has been submitted. In addition, agenda page 7 was updated to reflect the board letter. Item 38, Public Works, public hearing on the vacation and sale of a portion of Old Creek Road, request removal from the agenda. That's item 38. Item 39, Public Works, receive and file a report regarding grinding of sidewalks. A revised Exhibit 1, a PowerPoint, and a new Berry Park liens spreadsheet have been submitted. There's an addendum agenda, closed session, item 50, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. And that's it.
Thank you. Board members, any concerns, removals? Or if none, we need a motion. Motion and a second. Please vote.
Your vote, sir?
Is that Brian?
Your vote, sir?
Oops. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's been approved. Then we have our next item, moment of inspiration. We have Nancy Schrum from the County of Ventura Library, Deputy Director. Nancy, it was nice seeing you this morning. We took a photo with you with all your staff and our students. So can you help us out this morning?
Thank you, Chair Zaragoza. Good morning. Good morning, members of the board, Mr. Powers. I am Nancy Schram, the Deputy Library Director for the Ventura County Library System. And I want to thank you very much, Chair Zaragoza and board, for inviting us here today from the Ventura County Library System to share with you this moment of inspiration. We are hoping to inspire parents all over Ventura County to get their children out there and engaged in educational activities throughout the summer, and to encourage children to keep reading throughout the summer. The fact is that children who don't participate in educational activities throughout the summer experience learning loss. And studies spanning 100 years show that students who take standardized achievement tests at the end of summer vacation score lower than those who take tests at the beginning of summer vacation. So the Ventura County Library has a solution with its annual summer reading program to this achievement gap. I have here with me today our children's services team from throughout our 11 branches of the Ventura County Library System.
Welcome.
I also have with me our head of children's services, Ms. Susan McCula.
Welcome, Susan.
And Susan and her team have been working very, very hard on the Summer Reading 2017 program. We're right in the middle of this 10-week program. And this year, so far, they have increased participation in this program by over 30% from last year. So thank you to all of you, and they've been working very, very hard. The theme for the summer reading program this year is Reading by Design, the Summer of STEAM, and that stands for Science, Technology, Engineering, Arts, and Math. And there will be a series of STEAM events offered at the libraries throughout the system. We will have at each one of our libraries a STEAM playground, which is a 2-hour class of hands-on STEAM activities for the children to build 21st century skills. We'll have crafternoons and professional presentations, game days, both unplugged and plugged. Overall, 70 different STEAM events scheduled. These are all open to the public. They are free, and everybody is welcome. The STEAM events are hands-on classes. These are classes where students can take the theory that they have learned throughout the school year and apply it to these hands-on activities. So this morning, we thought we would like to show you an example of one of these fun activities. So I have brought with me 2 friends I'd like to introduce to help show us how to make a lava lamp. And that is Ruby, if you want to come up, and Zoe. So today, we are going to show you, board, how to make a lava lamp. And we can do this by using oil and water, because oil and water don't mix, because one is oil and one is water.
Is this Ruby?
Yes. Miss Nancy, oil and water don't mix because of how their molecules are constructed. This is called intermolecular polarity. Water is a polar molecule and oil is a nonpolar molecule, so they don't mix. Scientists say that oil and water are immiscible.
What did you say, Ruby?
Well, Ruby, how do you get it to be all those really cool colors?
I added food coloring. Food coloring is a polar molecule. Water is a polar molecule, so they mix. Oil is not affected because it is their polar opposite.
Wow. Well, I really like it. I really like it when it bubbles and it fizzes. That is really cool. How does that happen? How does that work?
Miss Nancy, the fizzy things are Alka-Seltzer tablets. These tablets react with the water to make bubbles of carbon dioxide. These bubbles attach themselves to big blobs of colored water. This causes the blobs to float to the surface, and when the bubbles pop, they sink back down to the bottom of the bottle. This keeps happening until the Alka-Seltzer is used up. You can keep adding Alka-Seltzer and do it over and over.
Wow. Wow. Ruby, how do you know so much?
I go to library. And Miss Nancy, if you need help, they have books about this. And if you need more help, they have librarians that can help you.
Okay. Okay, well, can someone help show us how to do this?
No problem. It's easy.
Get the mic.
You can use the mic there,
There
Zoe.
you go.
First, you fill the bottle with 1
Get closer to
part
the mic,
water.
Zoe. Thank you.
First, you fill the bottle with 1 part water, and then 3 parts oil. Make sure to leave 1 inch of open space at the top of the bottle.
Jeez.
Then you can add 10 drops of food coloring. You can add half an Alka-Seltzer tablet as many times as you want to make it repeat. You can make the lava lamp even cooler by adding light.
Now you all have them if you want to take the cap off, and we got paper towels in case we spill, and you can you'll have 3 tablets in there, but just take one of them and drop it in, and you'll have the lava light experience like the girls are doing.
I feel like I'm back in college.
You want us to drop all 3?
No, just one. But this way you can take it. This way you can do it all day long. We figured you would take this back and inspire your staff. And who doesn't want this on their desk all day long,
Do you need another tablet? I promise I won't use all
I did it.
We can share,
So Zoe, we put one in there, Zoe?
Just drop one in.
Just
Just
drop
drop
one in,
half an Alka-Seltzer tablet in, and then you can repeat as many times as you want.
and then put the cap back on?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cap's open, so in case you want to get the carbon dioxide out of there,
Oh,
It
okay.
doesn't blow.
They kind of.
Okay,
You don't want it blowing right now.
okay.
Nicole?
Taking you back to your
Right.
Well, thank you, Ruby and Zoe, so much.
Thank you so much.
I learned so much. I'm hoping that I can go home and use that as salad dressing too. I don't know, probably not, so don't do that. Well, thank you, Chair Zaragoza and
absolutely.
Board again for inviting us here this morning from the Ventura County Library System. I hope we've inspired some parents to get their kids engaged in educational activities throughout the summer and encourage some children to keep reading throughout the summer, running too, but reading. And hopefully they'll have fun doing it as well. So thank you so much.
Well, Nancy and Zoe and Ruby, thank you so much. We learned something today, and I think it's important. And thank you for the good work. And keep the kids reading all summer. Thank you so
Will do.
much.
Will
Thank you
do.
for being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank
Happy
you.
summer.
Let's put your hands together for it. Okay, our next item is consent items 11 to 33. Any concerns or removals? Or if not, we need a motion.
And, sir, number 12 was removed.
And
so
12
it's-
was removed.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Please vote. And that's approved. Our next item is public comments, and I have 2 public speakers, and we have more. I'm sorry, okay. We have 3 minutes, and this is going to be, the first one is Jack Patterson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Jack Patterson, and I'm a retired physician. I live in East Ojai. Been a Ventura County resident one way or another for about 40 years. I've addressed you before about the cannabis regulations and issue, and I'd like to just quickly revisit that while I can talk to the whole board. I don't think I have to review the whole history. You're all here except for Ms. Long. But it seems like after the last meeting a couple months ago, things are sort of dropped without any direction. And there's some loose ends that I'd like to see tied up. Whatever the result might be, just tied up. I mean, this is still hanging. Staff hasn't gotten any direction as to how to proceed. And when I went over the proposal that was given by staff, and it seemed to me it was just an outline. I mean, it was nothing more. There wasn't anything really in there that was concrete. For instance, there was some discussion about the dispensary issue, and all the regulations or proposal said was there'd be no more than 2. Didn't say there'd be 2, no more than 2, and that they not be in contiguous areas, that they be separated. That seems to be pretty broad. There's a lot of zoning issues there. Maybe those need to be revised. I don't know. I don't know what the objections are. There was another thing that came up about giving preference on permitting to local operators. It didn't say only locals would be considered. I interpret it meaning that all things being equal, there would be some preference to local operators. So I'm not sure what the objections were or why it would be so difficult to modify and clarify those, but I'd like to ask the board to kind of get this going again. So that's my ask.
Thank you, Jack, and staff will hurt you then. Thank you so much. Okay, our next speaker is Arthur Munoz, followed by Rebecca Correa.
Hello, good morning. My name is Arthur Munoz. I'd like to state, being that I have such a short a time frame, is that based on the hand of God Almighty, I'm patently one of the most competent, cognizant, and coherent people ever to traverse this meeting hall. As I stated a couple weeks ago, my father, Army Ranger Staff Sergeant Jesus Arthur Munoz, was killed in 1966 in the Vietnam War while fighting in behalf of the country that he loved so very much. I'm sure that when my father was, before he was killed at 26 years old, that he had contemplated that perhaps in his demise that his sons would be at least taken care of and protected by the Constitution and its provisions in the event of his demise. However, in 1990, in one of the most scandalous, reprehensible acts of injustice, I was invidiously persecuted by a extraordinarily rogue Ventura County Superior Court judge who happened to be forced into early retirement in 2004 in an unprecedented case by then District Attorney Michael Bradbury. That 1990 conviction, it involves such a sordid and a sordid plethora, if you will, of issues that it's hard to address at any given point. However, I will say that my constitutional rights were categorically and unequivocally denied in that process. And what I have to say now will reveal a reprehensible scandal that shouldn't occur in any judiciary, let alone to me, who in my case, my father was killed in Vietnam. I wanted to also state that I was recently in jail, and in that process, when I got released, my tablet and my phone were, I cannot no longer access my emails, and I can't get a hold of the woman that now has my dog. So I've had trouble with that. I still haven't retrieved my dog. And I also would like to issue an admonishment that whoever intends to try to harm me in any way surrounding these issues will sorely be met by God's wrath. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Rebecca Correa, followed by Pascual Correa.
Good morning. My name is Rebecca Correa. I am a resident of Thousand Oaks. I've been there for 10 years. I have a daughter with special needs, Ariel Correa. For some time, I was her in-home support services provider for many years. Currently, my husband is. Ariel is our angel. We call her our angel because of her rare disorder, Angelman syndrome. Cognitively, she's going to be 14 on Saturday, but cognitively, she functions at the age of 3. She has epilepsy. She's nonverbal. My husband is her daily provider, so his employment comes from in-home support services. She requires 24-hour supervision. She has no knowledge of fear. There's a street, she's going to cross it. She loves everybody, hugs everybody, so there's no kind of awareness as far as danger. She knows how to love unconditionally. I'm here because at this time I'm a consumer. My husband is the one that is paid to care for her. And living in Thousand Oaks, I'm there because it's a very safe community. I used to live in the Valley, and I've been here in Thousand Oaks for 10 years. I have a master's in clinical psychology from Pepperdine University. I'm a social worker. I work with abused children and families, so I know what happens in foster homes and group homes. Kids are abused. And for me, it's really difficult even to find somebody to provide care for Ariel, so my husband's is forced to leave his employment and be her primary caretaker. And as far as those types of services, as I said, it's very hard to find someone to care for our daughter. There's, I believe, an inordinately higher amount of children with special needs in Thousand Oaks, usually autism. And there's a great need, and we couldn't find anybody and keep anybody for the pay that they're getting. $12.50 an hour. Either they lived way out of the area where there was more affordable housing, and it wasn't worth it for them to drive into to care for my daughter on a daily basis, and they left for other employment. And my husband, I guess, is the best caretaker for her versus me being able to trust someone in the community to do that. Her being nonverbal, wouldn't be able to share. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of abuse, and the last thing I want to do is put my child in that kind of situation. So my husband is the trusted caretaker. I worry about the wage. It's not livable. That's just it. We're pretty much a single income mine and what he gets from her care. But aside from that, there's no medical for him. There's no dental. God knows there's no retirement for him. I mean, $12.50 an hour, no one in Thousand Oaks can live on any of that, anywhere near that. So I work 10-hour days and, try to make it out there. And I'm educated. A lot of these folks here, they're Latinos. They're registered voters. A lot of them, are residents now who now have the political power. They have a voice. And I've always said, when us Latinos, we get registered voters, become educated, we're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And there is a service that is vitally needed, and it needs to be provided, and it needs to be supported with a raise. I mean, $12.50, that's crazy.
Thank you so much. Pascual is next.
Thank you.
Thank you, and then followed by Colton Davis. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hello. My name is Pascual Correa. I'm Ariel's dad, and this is Ariel. Can you say hi, Ariel?
How are you?
Yeah. So basically, I do have a master's degree in health administration as well as a bachelor's. I could work in the private sector, making a lot more money with a lot better benefits with retirement, but because of my situation, I'm unable to do so. We've had caregivers for Ariel. And they've usually quit after the first week because of the pay and just because of the stresses that it comes along with taking care of Ariel. A typical day for taking care of Ariel is, because of her condition, she wakes up anywhere between 4:30 to 6 in the morning every day. So I have to get up. If I don't get up to watch her, she's going to destroy the house. She gets into all kinds of mischief if I'm not there to stop her. On a school day, I give her a shower, get her dressed. She's unable to dress herself. I think since she's been born, she's maybe put the proper shoe on the right foot maybe once. She puts everything backwards, so I have to dress her, I have to bathe her, I have to feed her, I have to get her on the bus. While she's gone, I get her clothes ready, her laundry, to clean her room, clean up the mess that she's made. Do housework, do other things in the home. Once she gets home, I go over her homework with her. We go work on her iPad, work on her communication skills, work on her appropriate daily living skills, make dinner. Then finally she goes to bed about 9 o'clock. That's when my day is now over. Now I do what I need to do for myself and my other children. Bless you, Mom. So that's a normal school day. During the weekend, it's the same thing. We get up at 5:30 to 6 o'clock in the morning. Now I spend all day with her, going over her speech therapies, going over her physical therapies, going over her, Mom, leave that alone. Don't touch it. As well as her feeding, her bathing, her maintenance. So basically, it is a lot of work. And the problem is, like I said, I could work somewhere else to and make a proper income where we can be more comfortable. but I can't do it at the expense of Ariel. So I know that a negotiation's coming up, so I just ask for your please consideration for Ariel. We do a lot of activities within the community. Ariel's part of the Special Education Soccer League, which also I'm a referee. I do that because nobody else is willing to do it, so I do it, and I enjoy doing it, and I love doing it. Also, Ariel is, we just finished our softball season, or actually baseball. Ariel played baseball, huh, Ariel? Did you like it? Yeah, Ariel had fun playing softball. I was an unofficial assistant coach, so we're really active with the community. A lot of people come up to Ariel and say, oh, yeah, Ariel knows her. So basically, my time's up, so I just want to thank you for your time, and I want to just ask for your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your good work, too, Pascual.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Colton Davis, followed by Juana Mendez. Colton Davis.
Thanks for listening to all of us, and I just want to say that, first of all, let me introduce myself. I'm Cotton Davis. I'm a retired salesman, and I'm a Vietnam War veteran, and I have been working with a disabled woman in Camarillo. We lived in Thousand Oaks for some years, but basically, Karen is afflicted with a number of neurological diseases, including MS and myasthenia gravis and Raynaud's syndrome and lupus. And there's a lot of situations that she just simply cannot handle. And in tribute to the healthcare workers, the in-home support service workers that do what I do, I can't express to you enough that this wage situation that we are in is very tough. We are, I've been offered several jobs, but I cannot leave my charge. I cannot leave Karen. I need to stay with her. And there are a lot of particular medical situations that have to be addressed every day. She often has an IV. And basically, I'm working from 7:30 till 9:30 every day, all day, doing all sorts of chores and keeping things in order, and a lot of driving her to doctor's appointments, as you can imagine. But again, relative to the need for a raise for us folks, there's just $12.50 is just not enough, simply, and you can imagine what this is all about. I've got children and grandchildren, and for the little bit of time that I have, I use my funds very sparingly, and you can. I won't get too far into this, but I just found out the other day that there are 500,000 in-home support workers in the United States, and here in California is the vast majority of them at a little over 300,000. And this union, this particular local, is the largest one in the state. And so I want to appeal to you that these folks who do what I do are just, we're just working and working, and $12.50 is not enough. Please consider a wage hike that you can, that's viable, that's large enough to make an impact on our daily lives.
Thank you.
With that, I want to thank you
for sharing.
Very much.
Thank you. Juana Mendez.
Buenos días.
Buenos días.
Mi nombre es Juana Méndez, ¿verdad? Y soy proveedora desde hace 10 años aproximadamente con la misma persona.
Okay. My name is Juana Méndez, and I've been providing services with the same person for the last 10 years.
Y estoy aquí, ¿verdad? Porque es muy importante, necesitamos mucho el apoyo de personas que no hagan recortes a este programa. Más que nada, para proteger los salarios y aumentar los salarios de todos los miembros.
The reason why I'm here is to support all these people, so all these salaries and the wages that can be protected.
Sí, hay mucha necesidad tanto de aumentar nuestros salarios como también el cuidado de salud. Nosotros no tenemos cuidado de salud, ¿verdad? Algunas personas se miraron beneficiadas por el programa de Obamacare, pero luego después se puso difícil.
Okay, for instance, we all need medical services. For instance, some of the people they got benefit through Obamacare, but the situation right now it's got worse. It's very difficult.
Sí, estoy aquí porque todos los miembros han pedido apoyo de personas que no hagan recortes, ¿verdad? Que piensen de una manera más humana. Nosotros hacemos trabajos muy parecidos a los de una enfermera, porque...
Okay, and the reason why we're here is because we want you to be aware that the type of work that we do is very similar to what a nurse make. Okay.
Por ejemplo, esta mañana muchas de las compañeras no pudieron venir porque están cuidando a sus consumidores que necesitan cuidado casi las 24 horas.
Like for instance, this morning many of my co-workers are not here, and the reason why is because they're taking care of their loved ones, of their consumers, and they need care the 24 hours, 24/7 hours.
Sí, en mi caso, la situación económica también está un poquito más difícil porque la consumidora para la que trabajó hace 10 años vivía en la ciudad de Santa Paula, ahora se vino a Ventura, entonces mis necesidades económicas han cambiado y las necesidades de salud de ella también han cambiado, son más difíciles. Ahora ella necesita más atención, ¿verdad? Más estrés, más atención para dedicarles un buen tiempo a las personas.
Okay, for instance, the person that I'm still taking care of for the last 10 years, she used to live in Santa Paula and she moved down to Ventura, so now their priorities have changed, and also for me it's more difficult in order for me to provide those same services.
Sí, yo en mi caso traté de encontrar otro trabajo que me diera beneficios. Pero a veces las personas se acostumbran tanto a uno, ¿verdad? Porque no es fácil encontrar una persona que les dedique el tiempo, compasión y paciencia, que es lo que ellos necesitan. Su atención médica es más, cada año aumenta, y nosotros tenemos que tener más habilidades también, más conocimientos. Y ellos no quieren el cambio porque se acostumbran con uno.
Like for instance, people nowadays, the consumers, the patients, they get so used to us, and so every year as the time goes by, their necessities they go slowly but surely they increase. So now we have more experience, and like for instance, in my case, I tried to get another job, but it's for them it's not easy for them to get used to another person. Okay.
Sí, en mayo yo estuve ausente una semana y en ese tiempo mandaron a otra persona y la señora me llamaba cada día, ponte bien porque te necesito. No es que yo sea importante, lo que pasa es que no todas las personas le dedicamos esa compasión, ese tiempo especial a las personas. Eso es la necesidad más grande aquí, que no hay personas que estén capacitadas para este trabajo. Entonces, por eso yo creo que necesitamos también un aumento de sueldo y beneficios sobre todo. Entonces, yo no sé, ¿verdad? Es una pregunta personal.
Okay. Like for instance, myself in the month of May, I was out of work for a week because I was sick, and at that time somebody else was called to help my patient. But she was calling me on a daily basis, telling me you got to get better, because it's hard for us to find people that is dedicated and spend time with them. Also, I believe that we need regarding the salaries, we need to raise those salaries and also maybe get benefits.
Sí, mi pregunta es, yo no sé si alguien de ustedes haría este trabajo que nosotros hacemos, como cambiar pañales a una persona mayor. Yo no sé si alguien estaría dispuesto a caminar en nuestros zapatos.
Thanks. My question to you will be, like for instance, I don't know if any of you will be willing to, for instance, do the type of work that we do, like changing diapers to an adult per se. So, and maybe you can see that and put yourself in my situation, in my shoes.
Es todo, muchas gracias.
That is it. Thank you.
Gracias a usted. Thank you, thank you. That's our last speaker. And I want to thank all the speakers today. You know, I know it's really difficult work, and I appreciate what you're doing. And the last statement was, we're willing to do the kind of work that you do. And it takes special people like you folks to do it, and I appreciate all the efforts and testimony we had this morning. Thank you so much. All right.
Supervisor Zaragoza.
I'd just like to mention something. I mean, once we get into official negotiations and all, it's at least it's usually not appropriate for us to comment from up here. And so I just want to say those are heartfelt and really important stories for us to hear. Thank you. Thank you for that service. And I appreciate the request for, a living wage in a high rent area like we have. The one thing I want to share with you is that the frustration that we feel, and that, the way the federal government and the state government has set this up, we're the people that you negotiate with, but they're the ones that tell us how much money they're going to give us for this. And so the vast majority of the pay comes from the federal and the state government. When they're not willing to pay more, it makes it very difficult for us to be able to negotiate significant increases from the standpoint of the living wage. I just want to share that with you because our limits are not based on our insensitivity to your situation. They're based on restrictions put on us by the federal and the state government. But it's really important for us to hear what you had to say today, and thank you very much.
And again, thank you for sharing, and that's right, as the supervisor mentioned, we have constraints from the state, as regarding wages and so forth, but thank you again.
Supervisor Zaragoza, if I may too, I just want to say, we understand the need, and the fact that you are there for them is just outstanding. But I also, hearing the stories, you realize how important it is to take care of the caregiver. And there's a lot of stress in your lives, and it has been shown that caregivers actually have shorter lifespans because of the stress that you face. So I hope that you are able to also seek out some respite for yourselves and assistance for yourselves too. Thank you for your words this morning. They are very powerful.
Thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda is board comments, and Supervisor Parks. Thank you.
I would first ask that the board close in honor of the people on this list, and I'd like to call out two individuals. One is Staff Sergeant Robert Cox. He was one of 18 who were killed when a Marine Corps transport plane crashed in Mississippi. I know that he was deployed overseas 4 times and a graduate from Thousand Oaks High School, and that he loved to be able to serve his country. He loved what he was doing, but I know he will be very much missed. And also I'd like to call out a good friend and someone who I always think of as a young man, which Paul Herzog. He was with the Surfrider Foundation, assisted with their ocean-friendly gardens. I first met him when I first moved to Thousand Oaks, and he was running for city council, and he got my vote. But just a very kind, concerned, considerate, intelligent, sweet man. I know he will also very much be missed, as well as the other people on this list. Just a couple of events that I attended, and I'll go quickly because there were many. I was able to attend with Supervisor Zaragoza and Supervisor Bennett a nice celebration for the Farm Worker Resource Program that My Cop and Cause put together. I also was able to attend Assemblywoman Jackie Irwin's safety fair that she had at the Civic Arts Plaza in Thousand Oaks. What a great concept, well attended, and just to be able to see so many different organizations, nonprofits, government agencies out there and understanding what we have available to us in times of emergencies. Also attended the Social Justice Fund, and it was a celebration of justice, and this organization came together just some individuals, very caring, wanting to be able to assist different groups that are working towards social justice, and watched the different organizations that received their grant funding. Enjoyed very much a movie that they had out in the Oxnard area called Citizen Jane, after Jane Jacobs, a citizen planner, they call her, and just watching her fight against really the effort to put a lot of highways through her neighborhoods and other neighborhoods in New York. And even when she moved to Canada, she was facing that there, and also the desire to protect park spaces, public spaces, and the importance of the community that you get. It's not just zoning, but it's actually a community. When you're wiping out stores, for example, you realize that you're losing that effort where everyone works together and knows each other, and there's actually safety in numbers. The whole concept of eyes on the street, when you have people who can see the street, and that brings safety, has really emanated from a lot of her work. Also, I was able to take a visit with our CEO to Westminster Free Clinic, and just again amazed at the, how they can see 100 people in one night, of people who don't have insurance or funds, and be able to get not only health care and assistance, but from a whole set of programs, from both food share, where we help to bag some food, to also everything from learning about diet, nutrition, exercise. It was very, very important, I think, to be able to understand what kind of services they can bring and how much they are appreciated and needed out in the community. The Southern California Association SCAG I know I said this was going to be brief, didn't I? I went to a SCAG meeting. I mentioned at the Transportation Commission, one of the things I found pretty interesting is that when we talk about tailpipe emissions from vehicles and how that can affect your health, one of the most sure associations between smog and health effects are particulate matters that get stuck in your lungs that come from diesel. But I also learned that in that air pollution is also stuff that comes from your brakes and from your tires, and I hadn't realized that. And they are focusing now their attention on roads with over 100,000 average daily trips, and looking at the impacts to people who live within 1,000 feet of those areas, and trying to see what they can do, what can be done to help reduce the effects on health. And I think that's a really interesting study that we could learn from. And then finally attended the La Fiesta del Triunfo. It's an event out in Thousand Oaks, put on by the Historical Society, and honored Don Chase Lichtenstein and as the Don Triunfo. I'm sorry, Chase Lichtenstein. And Doña was Pat Grant, who was also the Senior of the Year by the City of Thousand Oaks. And then also got to see some wonderful Jungle Land posters, that were recreated by the original artist. And Jungle Land in Thousand Oaks, it's such a huge part of the city's history, but a lot of the next generation know nothing about it, and just all of a sudden kind of got interested in the whole history of our city, and everything from the fierce tiger trainer woman, and just to all the different events that have occurred through Jungle Land. It really needs to be brought back to life in terms of the understanding that history. With that ends my comments, and thank you for your kind listening.
Supervisor Bennett, so we had a little incident here, but we're okay.
Emergency response.
Thank you very much. I'd like to get a life preserver for Supervisor Zaragoza, if we could.
We're okay now.
I just wanted to announce to the Board of Supervisors, we did the bicycle-friendly resolution here that we passed unanimously, and last night the Ventura City Council identified the city of Ventura as a bicycle-friendly city, passing the exact same resolution that we passed. So this idea of trying to make Santa Barbara County and Ventura counties international and national bike tourism attractive places is starting to grow beyond the efforts here. So I want to thank the board for their support of that, and look forward to this continuing to expand to the other cities also in Ventura County. I want to say hello to Bill Gallagher sitting back in the back. It's just great to have you back here, Bill. And so welcome back. We all missed you, and you bring a special kind of voice here to Ventura County government and stuff. I'd like to ask the board to adjourn in memory of John Curry Slade, a remarkable man, kind of touched lots of places in the county. But John was a really talented actor. He was in the movie Titanic, L.A. Confidential, and then somehow he got the bug that he wanted to be a high school teacher. Was a high school teacher at Nordhoff High School teaching drama up there, and he just was wonderful with students, and you could just imagine. And he just touched so many people here in Ventura County. Most recently, or most often, he does the Kingman Shakespeare Festival every year, and he was busy, just giddy. When you talked to him about it, when you saw John Slade, he was just giddy about being able to perform. They were doing Julius Caesar, and he was both the director and he actually acted. And tragically, in a car accident 2 weeks before the play's getting ready to open, lost his life. So somebody just gave a lot and just was a great spirit for living and life. And then we've had a lot of attention being paid to affordable housing here in Ventura County, here in California. It's a big push at the legislature, et cetera. And lots of people talking about what's the problem, what's the challenge. Well, one, it's a challenge to ever build enough affordable housing in coastal Southern California where so many people want to live. But part of the issue is what is it that you build? And so I just have this showed up in U.S. News and World Report, and I just have this PowerPoint slide. It's just a one slide here. But surplus of luxury apartments. This is I took this right out of U.S. News and World Report, and the point here is that you don't have the kind of shortage in luxury units. You have the shortage in the affordable units that are out there, and what you build is as big of an issue as where you build it. And so you could pave over places, and some places have paved over places building luxury apartment kind of living. That's not going to solve your affordable housing crisis, and I just wanted to share that with the board. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Supervisor. Supervisor Long.
Hello. Okay, first of all, I'm very proud to report that the Port of Hueneme has become the first California port to receive the Green Marine Certification, which designates it as a national leader in environmental conservation, speaking in regards to the brakes and emissions in the air and so forth. That was a great award for them, and I'm really proud of them and how they did it. Also, they're working with Globus in running the electric train, so that constituents know there's now an electric train that is going, and it's actually reducing truck trips on the road. So something for people to be aware of when you hear a whistle, a train, there's actually good things happening and business is moving. So I wanted to make sure people knew about that. Also, I wanted to thank so many people, so many companies for the Boys and Girls Club, their STEM event. That is for Piru, Fillmore, and Santa Paula. They had it at their Santa Paula location, and they were teaching kids new jobs in science, technology, engineering, math. Well, new to the kids, not new to all of us. But just thank you for their sponsorship and igniting the ideas in the students' brains as to what they could be or what they could be a part of. Also, we have been dealing a lot with the legislative items on the state and federal level. I want to make sure people are aware of the AB 1250 passed the Senate Governance and Finance Committee. It will be coming back in late August. I sent an information email out to all the board so that we could contact our contacts. Some people have better relationships or different relationships, and so if you could all reach out, even our constituents, to our legislative up in Sacramento. We are opposing this, and we are trying to show the cost of performing county services and how much cost would it happen if this bill was passed. So if people could reach out to your local government officials and state that you oppose that, it would be great, especially for costs. And we're always looking at our budgets. Also, there is the general plan updates that are going on, and we're looking for constituents to provide their feedback on the general plan for Ventura County. And so if you could go on our website and look to see where you can go and provide your feedback, we would be greatly appreciative of that. Then again, I'd like to adjourn in memory of these on this list, but I want to state one gentleman, Ben Rakowski. He passed away at 101. I saw him just in June, where he's teaching our students math for the middle schools. He was also a retired U.S. Navy, and he served off and on for over 30 years. He volunteered to tutor math at many of the elementary schools, and did that from the time he retired. And it's just amazing, a person who gives and gives, really just impressive. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Supervisor Foy.
Just real quick, adjourn in the memory of people on this list. Thanks.
Thank you. I also like to adjourn in memory of the folks on this list, but I have a couple of items that I'd like to share with you. Wednesday, the 21st of June, I attended the Ventura County Arts Council and Reed's Gift of an artist reception. Reed's Gift is a Southern California nonprofit organization that directly serves the needs of teens and adults with disabilities. This artist, this last month in June, they decorated the building here at the Government Center, and it's with really, really great art. Also, I attended the Oxnard Family Circle, the longest day, open house, dementia-friendly community kickoff. My assistant Jesse and I went out there, and we actually had experienced what a person with a dementia has, and they covered our eyes, and we went out there, and we had this verbal information that was given to us that we really didn't understand, and also we were given instructions on how to get from point A to point B, and there was just absolutely no way that I could pass that. But this is basically what a person with dementia actually experiences. It's really an eye-opener and quite an event that we had here at the Government Center. So it was really educational as far as dementia is concerned. So if you have somebody with dementia, it really is really horrible for those folks that have it. I also attended the Ventura County Development Corporation 5th Annual Home Ownership. We're talking about home ownership over at Centerpoint in Oxnard and how difficult it is for people to buy their homes and so forth. And this Community Development Corporation actually helps individuals for down payments and how to get the best loans and how to shop and how to, once you buy the property, how to take care of it, and it's an investment and so forth. It was a great home ownership fair in Oxnard. I also attended the Hank Lacayo, honoring Hank Lacayo's celebration at the Challenge University of all the great things that Hank Lacayo did, and it was just, we had probably, I know that most of the supervisors are there and our CEO. What do we have, about 450 people there celebrating Hank Lacayo's life. Also attended the Channel Islands Yacht Club 4th Annual Disabled Veterans event. This event, is put together by the Channel Islands Yacht Club, and they actually take veterans out to the islands and back, and they enjoy barbecue, and they kind of interact and share some of their experiences. It was really a great program there at Oxnard Harbor. Also, Bill and I, and Supervisor Bennett, Bill Gallagher is back with us again. Welcome, Bill. He was off for a couple of months. So we attended the AMVEP, the American Veterans. This is the Vietnam Veterans Installation Officers here in Oxnard. And again, those folks share quite a few of their experiences when they got back from Vietnam and so forth. So we were there also. Additionally, on Saturday, I attended the 21st Annual Relay for Life event, for cancer event at Rio Mesa High School. That was attended by quite a few people, and to actually help donate dollars and to help fight cancer in Oxnard. So, and of course, again, That's all I have, and it's good to see Bill back with us. That's all I have. Michael?
Thank you, Supervisor Zaragoza. Hopefully you've dried out by now. So a couple items. We did a State of the County on June 22nd here in the boardroom, and I appreciate the Management Council putting that on, and we had, I think, a real good turnout, covered a lot of good ground, and I really want to thank Veronica Gonzalez, Matt Carroll, and Mike Pettit for helping me put all that information together. It's a lot to condense into that time frame, and I think, as I say, we covered some good ground, including an internet battle between Siri and Alexa. And we'll tell you later who won. And then LEAP, our leadership program. There's a lot of investment that takes place, and I want to make sure your board is aware of it. The students who are part of it, and we're going to hear next week from those graduates, so you're going to see them, I should say. This is a big investment of their time. But there's also departmental leadership who invest their time, including in mock board presentations right here in the boardroom. They come up into the dais and give presentations, and we ask them some good, hard questions. And so I appreciate the department leaders who did that. Sheriff Dean, Dave Sasick, Mike Pettit, Sean Otten, Jim Dembowski, and I know Mark Varela and Mark Lorenzen from Fire has also done it. So really, it's a full-day experience, but I think we hear good feedback from folks that it's valuable.
Did you have a mock board of supervisors?
Oh, yeah, that's who it was, the panel.
That was the...
Those were the panelists, I'm sorry.
So
Yeah,
who's
those were the
replacing
panelists.
us.
Yeah. Well, never that. Trying to simulate in our own simple way. I do want to also echo what Supervisor Park said about the Westminster Clinic. I did have the privilege of going to see it. Nothing like seeing it for yourself, seeing the families and the children being helped, and then the students. Students whose lives are also being changed because, I mean, they're doing histories and sort of mini physicals almost, and really introducing them to a health career, and it's almost like a mini residency program going there. So it's just remarkable to see it, Lisa and her work out there. So look forward to supporting that more in the future. We also had our second annual job fair. So your board may recall we had one about 3 or 4 years ago, really good turnout. Well, we had another one a few weeks ago, and they did a good job in many ways, but also capturing the number of people. We think we had over 650 people come to this job fair. So really a great turnout, some good feedback. We got 86% found it valuable, 93% found out about the scope the county does. 94% said they lived in the county, 89% would be applying for a job. And so I think it really was a good experience all the way around. I think Supervisor Zaragoza, you were there. And it takes a lot to put that on, so I really want to recognize the HR department, Patty Zoll, Jessica Ruiz, Kelly Fitzgerald, Sabrina Anderson, Paulie Lozano, Katie Reynolds, Denise Carrizosa, Debbie Rowan, Jesse Prater, George Lopez, Edna Cameron, Kelly Akers, and Jean Leedy. I know that's a lot of names, but that's what it takes to put on something that big. And then all the departments were out there. I think every single department was out there, elected officials, just creating great energy. So congrats to the folks who put it on, and I think we'll be seeing benefits from that for years to come, actually. And then AB 1250, you heard from Supervisor Long, will be reinvigorating our opposition to that in the middle of August when the Senate comes back at the state, and we'll keep you posted on that. We also had another farmers market out here that was very well received for our first time, and so again, they did it again, and that went very well. Thanks to HR for that. Animal Services is doing a 9-part documentary entitled Shelter Life, and they'll be screening that across many locations this summer. So they're on fire as usual. And then last, just congrats to Barry Zimmerman for being nominated to the Board National Association of Human Services Agency, which is an affiliate under NACO. So great job, Barry. So, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. And again, I just want to share, we've shared quite a bit of information from the Board of Supervisors, but there's a lot of things that we did not share that I think is important that people understand that our county employees are several thousand employees are really working every single day. So I really appreciate that and thank all the employees for the good work they've done. Thank you so much. And our next item is item 41 there, Brian. HCA. And hi. Good morning.
Mike Powers. For the record, my name is Dee Pupa. I'm Deputy Director of Managed Care Patient Accounting, and I have the privilege of working in the healthcare agency. And the item before you this morning is a request to authorize the Auditor Controller to increase encumbrances for 30 of our Ventura County healthcare plan providers of medical services listed in the table. The total encumbrance is nearly $16 million. The increase that we are asking for is approximately $13 million. And this is basically to encumber these providers from a budgetary standpoint. The appropriations were previously approved by your board during the budget process.
Okay, any questions? It's a pleasure of the board. We need a motion and a second. Please vote. Thank you. That's approved.
Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you. We got item 42. This is Supervisor Bennett.
Thank you very much. I'd like to ask the board to approve my recommendation to appoint Phil White to the Planning Commission.
Okay. Got a first and a second. Please vote.
That was a nice article in the Ventura County Star
That's right.
today as well.
Thank you. Next item is 43, Supervisor Foy.
Thank you. I'd like to appoint former Mayor Greg Stratton to the Rancho Simish Cemetery District. We really do like the guy. We really do. No, he's was former mayor a couple mayors ago, but I think it's been 16 years or something, and he is a budget hawk, so I think it'll be great on that. They're doing really got some things happening over at the cemetery, so I'm excited. I want to thank Brian for twisting his arm to get that to happen. So.
Okay, we got a first and a second. Please vote. And that's approved. Our next item is CEO's office, the grand jury report. Matt.
Morning, Chair Zaragoza, members of the
Morning.
board. Matt Carroll with the County Executive Office. And agenda item 44 this morning requests your board approve the draft response to the grand jury report on performance auditing here at the county. And the majority of the conclusions and the recommendations were geared toward the Auditor Controller's Office, but there were a couple directed toward your office and our board and that. And with regard to the findings, we concur that the CEO's office needs to be more consistent in their response to our following up of items. We actually worked with the Auditor Controller's Office and identified a total of 2 reports out of several over the last couple years that had outstanding items, and we have responses for the audit. They both dealt with credit card usage, and so we have those draft responses ready to go, and we'll address those 2 outstanding items. And the final items were to increase resources for the Auditor Controller's Office, and actually just subsequent or preceding in the weeks to this report being issued, your board approved at our office's recommendations 2 additional positions for the Auditor Controller's Office. So we concurred with that recommendation as well, and the Auditor Controller applied one of those to the very audit division that's the subject of this report, and they used another, I think, in the financial reporting issue. So Jeff Burry, the Auditor Controller, and myself are here to answer any questions. I'd like to thank Robert Bravo again for helping me prepare the response to this report, working with the Auditor Controller's Office.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions, Matt? Good job. Good report. Thank you. So we get a motion and a second. Please vote. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
So I Leroy with our closed session, and we'll be back at 10 o'clock. Thank you. We have an announcement by County Council.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. On item 45, which on the agenda, which is anticipated litigation, the Board of Supervisors have authorized the initiation of litigation. The nature of the action and the identity of the defendants will be disclosed upon inquiry once the lawsuit is initiated. And the vote of the board was 5-0. So thank you.
Thank you, Leroy. Okay, our next item is item 34, and this is a resolution proclaiming the month of July 2017 as Parks and Recreation, and we have Mr. Van Dyke. I'm going to read a couple of words here, Ron, before I go down. And this is a resolution by the Board of Supervisors, County of Ventura, proclaiming July 2017 as Parks and Recreation Month. Whereas the Parks and Recreation profession in California creates community through people, parks, and programs, and whereas we recognize that our county parks are critical to the quality of life enjoyed by residents who enjoy the exceptional recreation and outdoor experience that they offer. Our county parks help to preserve and protect natural resources of our county. And whereas Parks and Recreation Services support more productive workforces, enhances the desirability of locations for businesses and families, and stimulate tourism revenues to increase the total community development model. Whereas Parks and Recreations promote health and wellness and reduces health care costs, and where Parks and Recreation fosters human development, help young people develop and grow into healthy adults, and help adults live longer, healthier lives. And whereas Parks and Recreation supports safety and security and reduces crime, and whereas hundreds of thousands of people, children and adults, seniors annually visit our Ventura County parks and facilities and benefit from the wide range of services and facilities. Whereas Ventura County Parks Department provides valuable services to the public in planning, development, maintenance, management, and operations at 26 recreational facilities as an enterprise fund department. Now therefore be resolved that the County of Ventura Board of Supervisors expresses its appreciation to the Parks Department and urges all residents to enjoy and recognize the social, physical, mental, economic, environment, and community benefit derived from county parks and campgrounds, park facilities, golf courses, multi-use trails, ball fields, community centers, and proclaims July as Parks and Recreation Month. Mr. Van Dyke.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Zaragoza, members of the board, and Mr. Powers, wherever he is. For the record, Ron Van Dyke, General Services Agency. This is my chance to recap on how we did this past year to the board and to the public, how your parks are doing. Thanks to the board, the facilities, and to my staff who work diligently every day. And as you can see, I got them all behind me today. They're all out in the field working and trying to keep the facilities up and repair some things that unfortunately crop up every single day. I couldn't do all the work that I do without, non-politically correct would you be the right-hand man that you used to say, but it really is right-hand woman. It's Teresa Lubin, who's my mentor, my guidance, and everything else. Even though I'm in charge, she still directs me.
And see, I knew you were a really smart guy. Yeah. I knew that, yeah.
Without her guidance, we butt heads every now and then, but that's the way it's supposed to be. We shouldn't agree to just to agree. We need the differences of opinions to make the Parks Department run right, and she helps me get there. We've had a lot of help getting there. Our park hosts provide us almost 20,000 hours a year in manpower labor by opening and closing parks and servicing restrooms and trash cans. LDS and probation work help us with our trails and maintenance work. And the rain this year really didn't help us with our trail maintenance at all. The weeds are yay high like overnight. So, and not being able to use sprays this year, we're doing this all by hand, and it's been a challenge, to say the least. Mother Nature threw us a curveball this year in February and slowed us down a tad, but the positive side is we bounced right back. Just to give you some numbers on how we're doing, which I think are pretty important for you to know how we are progressing. Our baseline year, which I said before, is fiscal year 7-8. We had about a 32, just a little over 32.5% occupancy rate throughout our park system campgrounds. Total occupancy. This year, we finished with 57, almost 54% occupancy. So we've almost doubled our occupancy rate. Technically, it's a 64, almost 65% increase since 7-8, which was our baseline year of keeping records for this. Huh?
You know why?
Combination of things. One, believe it or not, I think the gas prices helped us. Mm-hmm. When they shot up, everybody stayed home, and that gave them an opportunity to see what was here instead of leaving the area. Mother Nature with the drought kind of helped us a little bit by helping us during the off-season period. And The final thing, probably most important, is just a focus on maintaining our facilities and getting our facilities, curb appeal ready for the customers and supporting the customers.
Yeah, that's why I was going to ask you, because I've heard that. You guys have really stepped it up and are really making these places look great, and people enjoy being part of it, and so I appreciate what you're doing, so that's good to hear.
This year, we finished with a 5% increase over last year. So basically, every single year, we're somewhere between 5 to 7% increase in park utilization. Our overall attendance has increased 76% for our attendance count since that baseline year to this past year. So our numbers are continually going up, and we hope to do even better, but it is a challenge of pushing it. Probably our best performer was in your district, Supervisor, as far as setting a pace of increasing. Tapple Canyon Park in June had a 70% occupancy rate. The only parks that basically outbeat it were the beaches. Overall, for the year, it had a 64% occupancy rate, which is phenomenal. Took a little while to get it going, but now it's very popular, even in the hot months. So, if there's any questions for me, that's kind of a wrap-up of how we've been doing.
Go ahead, please.
No, I just want to say thank you very much. The parks are looking great. Getting people out there and being healthy and enjoying Ventura County is really important. So I appreciate all the work you're doing.
Yeah, just to echo on 26 facilities. When I share that with people out in the community, it knocks them out. They're surprised that there are that many, and they really appreciate the quality and the maintenance that you have and the people who work there. So great job. Thank you.
I do have it. Oh, by the way, I forgot because I got it last minute. Seeing as golf courses seem to be the most popular thing in the news here in Ventura County, I just wanted to let you know that Rustic Canyon Golf Course is the number 6th on the list of top courses to play in the state of California. The only, ones above that, Torrey Pines, Pebble Beach. Those are the kind of courses, PGA level courses, and we actually beat out some PGA level courses, PGA West and Palm Springs. We beat them out. So we have a course that's at the top of the list and has been holding there quite well for probably the past 5-6 years. They've been in the top 10, and they're in the top 100 in the country to play.
Even River Ridge.
Beats out River Ridge.
It's also a more environmentally sustainable, the one in Simi Valley, because of the less water use. So it's great
Yeah, they've been doing really well on water management because of the cost of the water, but now they have Reclaim coming in. That should be, I don't know if it's online yet, but it should be close to being online.
So you have your people? Who do you have?
Yeah, we're here.
You're the people?
We're here. We're all here.
Nobody else?
This is it. Unless Paul wants to come up.
Do this, get through this. He's a little bit taller than that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Good job. Okay, thank you so much. Our next item is really an important item. We have is Emily Inez here. Emily, she's going to present the Ventura County Fair poster by Ventura County Junior Board. Join me in welcoming Emily from Ventura County Fairgrounds, home of the annual Ventura County Fair 2017. And this theme this year is Rooted in Tradition.
Thank you.
Welcome from Simi Valley.
Thank you, and good morning. My name's Emily Inez. I'm actually not on the Junior Fair Board. We do not have a Junior Fair Board this year. They decided to take a hiatus and reevaluate the program. Okay. But it is my pleasure to show you guys the poster we have for this year. It was drawn by Anna Sorensen. She's 13 of Simi Valley. And it's absolutely beautiful. It's already gotten an amazing response.
It has to be in my office, John.
That's right. That's beautiful, beautiful,
yeah,
absolutely.
So this is for you guys. And I'd also like to share with you guys some of the special events in our grandstand entertainment for this year. So, as Mr. Zaragoza said, our fair theme is rooted in tradition, and we chose that theme because making memories is our mission at the fairgrounds. So, our opening day, August 2nd, is going to be Dollar Day, where it's only $1 to enter the fair before 3 p.m. And our grandstand entertainment that day will be motorsports. Thursday, the 3rd, will be Feed the Need, the food drive day, where if you bring 5 cans of food, you get a free return fair ticket. And our concert that day will be Smash Mouth and Sugar Ray in conjunction together.
Oh,
wow. Friday, August 4th will be Kids Day, where all youth under 12 will get in free, and anyone accompanying a child 13 and over will get in for only $9. And our concert that day will be Huey Lewis and the News.
You know who that is, right?
Nope.
That's what I was laughing when I heard
of. Saturday, August 5th will be our fair parade at 10 a.m. that runs down downtown Ventura. And our concert that day will be Casey and the Sunshine Band. Sunday, August 8th will be our Dia de la Familia, where Noel Torres, Banda Carnaval, Chiquis Rivera will all perform. And that concert is at 3 p.m. Monday, August 7th is Billy Currington. Tuesday, August 8th will be Seniors and Persons with Disabilities Day, where they will all get in for free. And there will be 2 concerts that day, one at 1 p.m., which will be the Spinners, and at 7:30, Kenny Babyface Edmonds. On Wednesday, August 9th, it will be $3 before 3 p.m., and our concert will be Shinedown. On Thursday, August 10th, we honor our military by having a Military Appreciation Day where all people with a valid military ID will get in for free. And our concert that day will be Gabriel Iglesias, and that will be at 7:30. Friday, August 11th is our Junior Livestock Auction, and all are welcome to attend. And our concert will be Winona and the Big Noise. Saturday, August 12th, will be our PRCA Rodeo at 2 and 7, and the same for Sunday, August 13th, PRC Rodeo at 2 and 7. Are there any questions?
No, thank you. Any questions? Excellent presentation, and thank you so much for...
I also have tickets for you guys.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Do we have
Sounds like
to
it's going to be a great time at the fair.
And Brian, maybe we can put the poster up here, so... Okay. Well,
thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Our next item is item 36, and this is Mark Varela. This is probation and service week, July 16 to 22nd. And I'm going to read a couple of items here, Mark, before we... This is, whereas the week of July 16 to 22nd, 2017 will be observed as Probation Service Week as a time to reflect upon the significant accomplishments of America's invaluable public servants. Whereas this year's theme is clients, employees, communities, empowered through partnership. Whereas this line officers are at the heart of the probation profession, where they are on the streets supervising clients, working to ensure a safe community, and to provide clients with opportunities to become law-abiding, productive citizens. Support and protect victims, oversee reparation of harm done to communities and also to victims. They conduct home visits and also the GPS electronic monitoring, supervise resistant offenders, administer drug tests, make arrests for violations of probation. And whereas in Ventura County, our juvenile probation officers, correction officers, handle over 3,100 out-of-custody citations a year and supervise 760 juveniles on a monthly basis in our community in approximately 105 of our institutions. Whereas in the county, our adult probation population supervises 8,500 adult clients, many for serious and violent offenses. They manage adult post-sentence juveniles alternative programs, easing the crowded jail system while still maintaining community safety. Whereas the deputy probation officers provide direct service to our Superior Court by compelling completing 3,200 juvenile and adult disposition reports annually and nearly 1,340 additional court actions. Whereas our correction services officers provide 24-hour supervision to our youth in our custody facilities, and they plan, organize, and direct a variety of activities, facilitate a multitude of programming to address youth needs such as the PONSTEP? Okay, steps, or the Cane Rescue Program, the Reins of Hope, and also the Assisted Psychotherapy Program, and also the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library Youth Monitoring Tours, collaborate with many community-based organizations and volunteers, assist adult clients, and supervise community programs. I'm doing your whole presentation here. Let me show one more thing. Our officers maintain the safety and security of our facilities, the community, and also commit to promote services development programs to meet the needs and interests of clients they serve, such as a crisis intervention youth CITY training, to meet the increased number of youth for mental health diagnosis, and also brought into the juvenile justice facility. I'm almost done, Mark. And also, whereas our probation and correction service officers serve others participating in law enforcement Special Olympics, the Torch Run, Tip a Cop, work with the volunteers countless hours with victim groups, local charities, faith groups, youth associations, literacy programs, because they see the great impact that such work can make on the lives of those under the supervision and also in the communities that they live in. Now, therefore, be resolved, the Board of Supervisors of the County of Ventura hereby proclaim the week of July 16th to 22nd, 17 as Probation Service Week in the County of Ventura. We express our appreciation and gratitude for the dedication and commitment to the county's probation and correction services officers who are experts in dynamics of drug abuse, sex offenses, child abuse, domestic violence, mental health, gang entrenchment, and field officers' safety, all while maintaining a sense of fairness, compassion, and professionalism in a variety of demanding occupations throughout this efforts throughout the year on a 24/7 basis. This is presented to you on this day, the 18th of 2017, Mark.
Thank you so much, Chair Zaragoza, members of the board, CEO Powers, Mark Varela, your probation agency director and chief probation officer. Every July, your board recognizes the hard work of the men and women, both in the civilian and peace officer ranks of the probation agency, for their hard work throughout the year. And they do a ton of stuff, and everything on the resolution is absolutely true. They do a variety of things, and it's just amazing from my vantage point to see the hard work of our staff with the probation agency. It makes me extremely honored to be the chief of this organization. You know, I'm on my 29th year as a probation officer here in Ventura County, and I can tell you that I haven't seen a more exciting and challenging time than what we've seen in the last 8 years. Probation historically has been a behind-the-scenes profession, doing diligent work behind the scenes that you didn't actually see them getting recognized for their hard work. We've been leaders in juvenile justice now for quite some time. A lot of our reform efforts here in Ventura County, we've had fantastic outcomes. But most recently, with the passage of AB 109, which set the ball in motion, we've seen some significant changes on the adult criminal justice side, which has required our agency employees to move towards an evidence-based and data-driven world, which is not easy to do. But instead of being behind the scenes, we're now front and center, standing alongside our justice partners, our partners in treatment and human services, as well as our law enforcement agencies out in the community, standing front and center to implement these historic changes to our system. I haven't been more proud of the men and women of this agency than I have been for the last 8 years. I mean, they've taken a significant challenge and they've moved it forward and helped bring everybody else along here in Ventura County. So very, very proud of the work that we've done in the last 8 to 9 years. More importantly, we couldn't do what we do without the support of your board, without the support of the CEO. I think you believe and you understand in the mission of the probation agency and what we're trying to accomplish, and that helps us out quite a bit. We have a really good informational booth that's out front there in the entrance of this building, where we have pictures and information on the variety of services and things that we do out in the community to help keep our community safe. I encourage all of you to stop by and grab a stress ball or a brochure on what it is that we do, and a lot of good work. So I just wanted to thank you for this recognition and for doing this every July to recognize our folks. And with that, I'm gonna allow a couple of my chief deputies to say a couple things. I have Patricia Oliveris here and Tim Daller, and I'm going to hand it over to them. Thank you.
Chair Zaragoza, members of the Board of Supervisors, Mr. Powers, good morning. And thank you for allowing me to say a few words regarding our probation staff. At a time when there's been a tremendous amount of scrutiny placed in the law enforcement profession, probation, as Mark said, has emerged in the forefront as leaders in this law enforcement profession. We serve a very unique niche within this family. That is by balancing accountability of the defendant or offender along with accountability to the community with rehabilitation and service. Over the past 5 to 7 years, the landscape of probation has changed from realignment to Prop 57, Prop 47, the continuum of care reform, just to name a few. And through it all, our staff have responded to the changing landscape brilliantly. So while there has been scrutiny regarding the law enforcement profession, we continue to hire men and women who are ready and prepared to serve. I'm proud to serve along the side of men and women of our probation agency who serve every day with honor, commitment, and dedication. Honor to the profession, commitment and dedication for the offenders we are entrusted with, and to the community that we serve. We have not been able to accomplish this without your unwavering support, and that is you, the board. You have continued to support our staff, our programs, and our agency as a whole. I would also be really remiss if I did not recognize the leadership of our Director and Chief, Mark Varela. His forward thinking has really led us to becoming that forefront agency in law enforcement. Thank you again, and for the men and women that are here and those that can't be here today. As Mark said, civilian and sworn, everybody together really helps to move our mission forward. So thank you very much again for recognizing us this week of probation.
Good morning. Thanks for allowing me to speak today, Mr. Powers, Chair Zaragoza, members of the board. I appreciate it. I want to just give you a brief story of where I came from. I've been here almost 22 years with this agency, Ventura County Probation Agency. I'm very proud of that. Started as a corrections services officer at our old Coastal Youth Center. I don't know if you remember it, on Hillmont. And when I started as a CSO, I met some fine people, and I learned from them. And there were some officers, and they're veteran officers. And one of the first things I learned is that it's a very challenging profession, but it's also very, very rewarding. I saw officers do some great stuff. They de-escalate some serious incidences in there. 1 minute, the next minute they're helping youth out with their homework, and then the next minute they're helping the youth out with a crisis in their family or whatnot. It was amazing to watch. I learned a ton from that experience, from those good men and women back in the day when I started. 3 years later, I became a DPO. I was actually assigned under Mark's unit, a juvenile unit, and I saw similar actions. I was in some very dangerous situations out in the field where I saw officers who just handled themselves professionally and just tactfully and got us out safely. I've seen them work with case plans with clients, challenging clients, try to get them employment and just the real ground stuff. So I've seen that. You fast forward 20 years later, where I'm at today, and I constantly see things like, as my managers will share them with me, an officer will get a letter from a client thanking them for all the work that they've
done with them, and or a copy of their certificate from completing a residential program. I recently saw pictures where they sent pictures of them by their employment, their new career employment that they got through programming, through probation and working with a probation officer. So the impacts of building those professional relationships I've seen time and time again. Back 20 years ago, I've seen them recently through my position now. So, you know, my point to that is that, you know, the men and women 20 years ago, just like today, they do a great job, you know, and I can't be more prouder. And it's just going to get better, in my opinion. Pat had talked about this. You know, Mark's taking us a direction where we're being more results-based, and I think things are just going to get better for our clients and our community. And it's all because of the men and women who every day sit in the offices, go out in the field, put on the vests, you know, get trained in weapons and trained in case planning and resources in the community and all those things to facilitate long-term change in our clients, which will best serve our community. So I thank you for the recognition. I appreciate that, and thanks for letting me talk to you today.
Thank you, Mark, again for your good work and your staff too, and all the people that work 24/7. Thank you so much.
All right. Nate, we're going to get them all in the pictures.
Yeah,
come on.
Get the whole
Everybody up. Come on, gang. They're not bashful.
Come on, guys.
Come on. Don't be bashful.
Because I'm short.
All right, smile.
Oh, Joe wants to be in on this one.
This is Facebook.
Good job, guys. Good presentation.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Our next item is item 37. This is approval of purchase of 1.96 acres of real property located at Avenida de los Árboles in Thousand Oaks. And Mr. Philgard.
Good morning, Chair Zaragoza, Mr. Powers, members of the board. This is a public hearing on the proposed purchase of real property from the Holy Trinity Lutheran Church, Evangelical Lutheran Church in Thousand Oaks for replacement of existing fire station site. The current site is undersized, doesn't fit the needs of the district, and is encumbered with easements to the Callegas Water District and the gas company that prevent expansion of that station on that site. Staff looked at several sites, finally settled on this one. The city has been notified in accordance with the government code, and the city planning department took an action finding that the location of the site on this property is consistent with the city's general plan. The church is very excited to work with us. They have a day school, and they're, again, excited about having the firefighters next door to work with the children. They also felt like the mission of the fire district most closely aligned with their mission of serving the community. They've also talked about doing community emergency response from this location. We're asking that the board find this is exempt from CEQA as it's an infill project. The site was going to be developed by someone else, if not us. I think that's it, unless there's additional questions.
Any questions, Mr. Philibert?
Yeah, the fire department is really special in the way that they do the architecture that fits the area. So I know that this is something that we'll work with the community on in terms of finding an architecture style that fits in well. And I know there's also, I've seen in other places, for example, in Oak Park, where they've put antennas inside of church steeples, so being right next to the church, that might be an opportunity also, as we usually put an antenna with our stations. But I know that this will definitely be a nice-looking building and set back enough so that it fits the needs of the community, too.
Yes, the district's been very good with the new stations and working with the community.
If there's...
Okay.
If there's no other questions or comments, I'll make a motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Please vote. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 38 has been removed, and we have 11 o'clock, so we have a 9-minute recess there for 11. Do we have correspondence? Let me see. Okay, correspondence, okay. Got a second, please vote. Thank you, Brian. So now we go recess for 9 minutes? Okay, we're going to continue with our meeting, our Board of Supervisors for July 18. Our next item is item 39, and this is a receive and file report regarding the ramifications and costs of the county grinding sidewalks and paying for the grinding when the cost is under $25 per grind. David.
Good morning, Chair Zaragoza, Supervisors, CO Powers. For the record, I'm David Fleisch with the Public Works Agency Transportation Department. The item before you today is in response to your board's request from the March 21st, 2017 meeting. During an item that was presenting a request to assess costs of sidewalk repairs as assessments and liens for property owners in the Newberry Park area, staff was directed to return to your board with ramifications and costs of the county grinding sidewalks and the county paying for it if it was under $25 per grind. This item presents that information. Currently, the Public Works Agency Transportation Department invoices property owners for all work performed on sidewalks adjacent to their property, including grinding, replacement, and tree removal. The administrative costs for the Public Works Agency for issuing property owners the invoice and any additional correspondence should the invoices not be paid is $4.87 per property. Should the property go to lien, the cost for the auditor, controller, and the treasurer tax collector are 21 cents per assessment plus an administrative and collective collection fee of 0.25% of the amount collected. So the total should a property go to lien is $5.08 plus 25 cents per $100 of the cost. There have been 3 projects completed using the notification and invoicing process approved by your board. For this analysis, we've considered the Miramonte and the Newberry Park projects, only 2 of those that are on the list because the Somas project was such a small number of properties that the data is a little bit skewed. For Miramonte, the cost of grinding was $9 per lineal foot. There were 93 properties that either had grinding or replacement or both. 53 properties had grinding alone, and only one of those cost under $25, and it was $18. For the Newberry Park project, the cost of grinding was $7.50 per lineal foot. There were 539 properties that had grinding replacement or both, and of the 296 properties that had grinding alone, there were 71 that were under $25. 31 at $15, 11 at $18.75, and 29 at $22.50. In talking about what the cost is per grind, one of the issues is what does per grind mean? There's really 3 ways that we look at that are possible. One is per lineal foot, the second is per property, and the third would be per length of grinding for each individual section. Although each of these can be measured, the the per length of grinding for each individual concrete joint or section would require much more administrative time. And I'm trying to show that on the slide up here. If you had a property like this as an example that had 4 areas of grinding and 1 area of replacement, and that's not all that uncommon actually. Currently, we only track the total length of grinding and the total replacement square feet, so that's the 2 X's in the bottom line that you see there. If we were to do it by each individual section, we would have to add however many columns to the spreadsheet and collect that data, which we currently do not do. We don't ask for that from our contractor, nor do we track it that way. So that would add quite a bit more record keeping in order to do that. Excuse me. So a significant number of the properties, 24% of the Miramonte properties and 35% of the Newbury Park properties had both grinding and replacement. So because of this, it would be difficult to apply the per lineal foot or per length of grinding without unfairly treating a group of property owners. Those that had less than $25 of grinding in either interpretation, but a total of more than $25 in their bill would receive a discount, but would still receive a bill. Those who had grinding over 25 and a bill over 25 wouldn't get any discount. They'd pay their whole bill. So for the per property interpretation, those with a total bill under 25 would receive a cost benefit, i.e. no bill, and those with it over 25 would pay their whole bill. So there's a disparity there of how that would be tracked. So finally, with the administrative costs, as noted above, a property owner with a bill less than $25, if they were not billed, would essentially save us $5 a property. And so the $20 per property, if it was $25 or whatever the difference between the 5 and the total amount was, would be a lost revenue that we would normally have. So with that, pending your questions.
Okay, any questions of Dave? Dave, so you're saying that those $20 have lost then from there on?
If it was a $25 cost, yes, we would cost $5 administratively, so the $20 of the 25 would normally be revenue that we would forfeit.
So anybody above $25 then would have to pay
the full amount,
the
as
full
I
amount.
Presume.
Okay.
I have a little PowerPoint, they can put it up, but we see a lot of $15 grind billing, so would that be assuming it costs, that's like 1 grind or something?
And it's a per lineal foot, so if it was $15 at $7.50 a lineal foot, it'd be 2 lineal feet.
Okay.
For the $9, it was $18, it would be 2 lineal feet, so it varies.
The lowest bill, then it gets down to like $7?
No, the lowest bill was $15.
Oh, okay.
So it was 2 lineal feet was the shortest amount that was done.
Just because we have a new member, we've had this come to our Board of Supervisors many times, so I just kind of a quick history, because each time it came, some supervisors supported some things and some supported others, and not mustering the 3 votes on a lot of that. December 5th, there was a motion made in 2006 to allocate $100,000 in matching funds for sidewalk repairs, and that was voted yes by Parks and Bennett, no by Flynn, Long, and Michaels. Then in January 2014, there was a motion to allocate, we had some unanticipated funds from TDA, and to allocate those funds for sidewalk repairs in excess of those bills that were $250 or more. And that was failed on a motion, and it was Parks and Long for it, Bennett and Zaragoza and Foy against it. Then on that same day, there was another motion to allocate $300,000, share it with residents 50-50, for those residents that have to pay $250 or more, and that was supported by Parks and Bennett, but not by Zaragoza, Long, and Foy. We can go to the next one. February 11th, 2014, there was a motion to spend the $566,000 of the unanticipated revenue for one-time sidewalk repair. And that was approved by Bennett, or rather Parks and Long, but no Bennett, Zaragoza, and Foy. Same day, we moved to direct staff to report back on grinding as a repair option, because before they would just replace whole slabs even if there's only like a 1/2 inch lip. and the costs of funding that. On October 28th, they came back, and the motion was to include grinding when repairing streets at no charge to residents, and that was approved. Parks and Long, yes. Zaragoza and Foy, I'm sorry, I didn't have Bennett in there. This was actually approved October 28th. Bennett, Parks and Long approved having the county pay for grinding. The next slide, August 4th, that vote was reversed. So Bennett, Zaragoza, Long, and Foy decided not to have the county pay for grinding. March 21st, we asked that this year the county look, now that we've done grinding, look at the county paying for grinding when grinding is less than $25 per grind. And that kind of got us where we are today. And the next slide, we have found through the Miramonte and the Casacaneo project that 96 to 100% of people who were offered grinding chose grinding. 96%, I think, in Casacaneo, 100% in Miramonte, and also Somas. So we know that people have the option for grinding. Pretty much everyone's going to say yes. We also found that the average cost per property is roughly in the neighborhood of $44 as it was in Miramonte, or I guess in Casacaneo, $51. So somewhere in the neighborhood of $44 to $51 per property to grind. The number of properties that that liens are being placed on in this latest round, 86 properties. And putting liens on property is also something new that we have never done before, and I think that happened in this year, in March 2017. Is that accurate? Or was it last year?
Was approved by your board about almost 2 years ago, but the
Yeah.
first two projects were done last year.
Right, so that was the first time we put liens on properties, 86 properties. Those properties with liens and grinding, 70%. So that makes sense, since most people chose grinding. Most of the liens are also for people who had grinding. 349 properties chose to grind only. Those were the ones, some are grind and replacement, but of those, 349 chose grind only. But I think the important thing to point out is for all the properties that chose grinding, whether it was with replacement or not, the whole shebang cost $27,000. So if we chose to, now we know, if we chose to allow for grinding to be paid for by the county would lose $27,000. And that doesn't subtract the $5 or so per property, so it's probably be closer to $20,000 possibly. But that's what we're talking about. With all those votes and all that history, it just comes down, to me, that is a doable amount. And one of the reasons why the county doesn't pay for sidewalk repair, one was because of Prop 13, because we used to pay for it. And back then, we used to pay $45,000 a year. In today's dollar, that's more like $140,000. But at any rate, we stopped paying for it. But in addition, we now allow for grinding, which instead of paying over $100 per property now, this at least cuts it in half or less. So my thoughts on this, we have the opportunity, instead of trying to say, well, $25 per property, or properties that, well, I guess it was $25 per grind or less, we would pay for. To me, it seems it makes a lot more sense to just pay for the grinding. It's about $44 to $51 per house if we paid for grinding, not subtracting what the cost to bill is. If we do that, we will eliminate the high number of properties that have liens to them. We would also be encouraging those who will allow for their sidewalks, as we assume that they are the resident sidewalk to repair, to not get into such a state of repair that it needs replacement. And so we will be incentivizing people to take care of their properties, get the grinding done without even having to disturb them. We don't even have to knock on their door. We'll just go there and grind it, not have to pay the costs of billing or anything, which makes it less costly. And they know that if it gets to a state of disrepair that you need to actually replace the slab, that's on them. So to me, it is a result that we will have less disgruntled residents, something that some of you may not have the experience of, not having sidewalks in your district. But secondly, that we will have, I think, a smoother process in being able to just take care of these properties, not spend as much money, and be able to ensure that we have safe sidewalks for our residents. You can take down unless there's any questions.
Any questions?
Comment, thank you. I just want to make sure I was consistent, so I was very consistent.
Yes, there you go. One of the more consistent of the members. However, you were on the winning vote to look at paying for grinding if it's less than $25 per grind.
Let me ask Leroy something. She just asked if we went down the road, the sidewalk, and we ground something and touched their sidewalk. If we touch it, do we own it at that point? Do we have any liability issues different because we touched it? Somebody says, well, this happened, my sidewalk broke, I tripped on it because you ground it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's their property, but I don't know because we did something to it.
Did you just steal my question?
I'm sorry.
No, well, I mean, I think we share liability, but I don't think the liability is increased because we touch it in that scenario. Okay. It wouldn't affect our exposure, but we're exposed just because we're co-responsible for the right-of-way.
And if somebody came and said, I don't like the way a grind looks, you guys went and did it without even asking me, you got to replace this now, would they have a right to say that?
No, not just for cosmetics.
Not for cosmetic reasons? Okay.
So the county wouldn't have to replace it to meet the cosmetic desires of the landowner, but the landowner could replace,
Yeah, I mean, because if they would have said, okay, it's up a little bit, but I don't like that look. Some people have said that when the grind, the rock shows, looks a little funky. But we wouldn't, just because where Supervisor Parks was asking, we went around and just did that. We wouldn't be responsible if somebody says, I don't like it, now you replace it.
No, we would not be responsible.
I just point out that of the 563 properties in this whole study, 18 didn't want the grinding. So it's a small amount, and if they did
I would imagine they all wouldn't want the grinding
Yes.
if somebody's going to pay for the repair.
Exactly.
Right, because they would rather have it look normal, of course. It's free. Everything's always priced.
Supervisor Long?
Yes.
No, I want our sidewalks looking good, and I want our people being safe. I was just wondering, what other areas have we not looked at? We're talking about 3 locations. I was just wondering what the ramification, if I live in the unincorporated area and now I hear that we're covering grinding, I'll be calling. So I just wanted to see, was this the largest area that was really bad, or do we have more? That's all I'm asking.
These just happen to be 3 projects that we did. Our process is when we do a paving project, we go do sidewalk work. We don't normally go out and do it on its own unless we have a huge amount of complaints in a given area.
Okay.
We have several other areas that I'm sure have needs, but we haven't done a survey. This was just with the existing projects that we had done.
So you're saying, if we got a whole bunch of complaints, that's a bunch of complaints about the sidewalks are so bad, I can't ride, walk, whatever it is, that's when you could go out and then go and tell people, we're going to fix these and you need, is that what you're saying there?
Generally, yes. If we get an individual complaint, we'll go look at it. We'll send the individual a letter. If they don't do something, we have a process where we'll use a separate contractor through our O&M group to do that on individual ones. We had a situation in Oak Park where we got a complaint. We went out and looked at the street and actually 2 adjacent streets, and all of the sidewalks are so bad, it didn't make sense to send one letter. So we actually did a contract that's about going out to bid for that project, but we haven't done that in the past. What we did do in this particular case, the Newberry Park project with the supervisor's concurrence, we did all of the sidewalks in the area, not just where we were paving. Normally, we only do them on the streets that we're paving, and we did that so because that was the area with the largest amount of complaints, and it also gives us a good baseline.
For costs and so forth. And I thank you. I appreciate that because we do need to understand how much things cost in a grind and the safety and so forth. It kind of counterbalances it. My only question is, we do go forward, we're setting a precedence. So I just wanted to make sure what other locations, if we have, that we need to, so that we could understand the cost coming forward.
The locations you did were sample locations, right?
Again, we had 3 projects that we were doing paving where we did this, so they just happened to be the ones. So when I was asked to bring this information forward, it was just those 3 projects.
So the opportunity was there to test.
Yeah.
Supervisor.
Go ahead.
No, it's Floyd and Ben.
Since this sidewalk thing's been around for a little while, I spend my time looking at sidewalks as I'm driving. It's kind of crazy, but.
Wait, you're looking at the sidewalk and not the road?
Yeah, that's probably true. Going, wow, look at that, It sure seems that most of these cities, even though, quote, they may say there's some responsibility, they don't seem to do a ton of work on these sidewalks all the time. I mean, you go down through LA and through the valley and that, and even some of these other cities, they're all struggling trying to keep up with this. They had this idea, we want our cities to look great with all these trees and the parkways and do all, and then as the trees grow up, it's destroying the sidewalks and they replace them. And because you can see where the new concrete went in, and then the tree is still destroying it 5 years later because of the drought. They're looking for more water. I mean, I guess what I'm really trying to ask, this is a never-ending issue, I guess. And is that why more of the counties, because they're, I guess I'd say, is that why some of the cities have even struggled with this issue? There's just no money. Because when I look at most of these sidewalks, cities never put the sidewalks in. It's always a developer or somebody who put this in, and there really wasn't a whole lot of, is there mostly special money set aside for these in cities? Is there, I know there's lighting districts and all that kind of, is there sidewalk districts in this?
I'm not privy to any information about sidewalk districts. I do know that they use property tax and other funding that we don't have within transportation to do that work.
Right, and that's what I was trying to get at. Because I didn't see, as I tried to ask around, there's a lot of this funding for this, and that's why it's always a problem, because there's no real funding. Roads have funding, it's less road, and we have that. But I guess at the end of the day, we're even in a worse situation because we don't have sidewalks. We didn't have they built them, but we're in a situation where we never had any specialty districts or anything to help even fund any of this stuff. So this is purely 100% general fund money that's going down this path. And I guess it becomes more difficult as I'm looking through this, as I'm looking all around, and you go through a city, and almost all city streets are sidewalked, almost all, unless it's really an older place that haven't been redone and inside that. So when the city uses their property tax to do it, it's kind of spread across everybody. We're using our money to fix sidewalks throughout the whole city. We're doing this. We're saying to the people out of Ojai, we're going to use your money to come into some area that's got sidewalks and do it, or you're using Simi Valley City money to go into some area where they've got sidewalks. And so it's really not spread equally because 75 or 80% of the county doesn't have sidewalks, I would imagine. So it's a different kind of a view, is I guess I'm looking at, and I don't see anything. I guess maybe you probably don't know it either. I'm just trying to figure, we don't have a system that's set up in counties really to do this kind of work. And as we get down, even though we've got some sidewalks and maybe we could grind them to be less than that, I'm just trying to figure out how we, if we go down this path, how we can allocate and say to our fellow citizens that we're willing to take your hard-earned tax and put it in the area because you don't even get a benefit for any of that, and try to do this. I'm trying to figure that out because even though we've come up with maybe some cheaper ways to do some of this stuff, how do we do long-term to try to fix this where everybody's gotten a fair ride about this? Because a lot of stuff the county does is a county benefit for all county residents, and that's kind of a different thing. So, and I guess that's my question. And I don't know. I know we've done certain things where certain areas have taxed themselves because they wanted something and they were able to do it. Now, you guys don't do that for road funds, except that down Santa Rosa Road, they put lights in, right?
Signals,
and then
yes,
they
sir.
tax themselves to maintain those lights, or to put the lights in, or to have some kind of a fund.
Yes, sir.
Is that something that's available in these areas if we wanted to go down that path where people said, I want my sidewalks done? sure, we'll do it if you guys want to do it, but you're going to pay for it yourself, and that's how you do that? Is that possible?
I'm not an expert in that business, but I know with the county service areas, if they were to go through the process of including that, like we have with transit and some other things, they could pay for that in those areas that have some sort of an ability to pay for that. So where we have the county service areas, they could do that.
Okay, so there's options to get this done without asking the rest of the whole county to allocate money to go to certain parts of our, I don't know, maybe you guys know.
We have Supervisor Bennett and then Parks. I want to share something real quick. Well, I had some residents in El Rio that wanted sidewalks, and I think your office helped them out. They actually went and took out a permit, and they actually built their own sidewalk.
So they're willing to pay for it?
They're willing to pay for it, and they paid a couple of $1,000s to do so. One of the things that the city's doing now, or some of the cities are doing, is that they're now trying to find what kind of tree to plant. So it won't raise the, and that's part of the planning process that they're doing now, Supervisor, where they now pick a tree that does not uproot the sidewalks. Supervisor Bennett and then Parks.
So a couple of points. One, it's interesting that you pointed out, but if you just go from the standpoint of what supervisorial districts would benefit from the board picking up this policy of taking care of sidewalks, my district would actually, we have a fair amount of sidewalks in the unincorporated area in the Ojai Valley and stuff. So from the standpoint of self-interest, I would be sort of saying to do this, but I'm not. When I got here, our planning department, our roads department said, they're very clear, we shouldn't grind, and the residents need to fix their own sidewalks because of all the reasons that you talked about. And like you, I've been driving around looking at a lot more. Wherever I'm going, I'm looking at a lot more. And I guess I'm more of a believer today than I ever have been that our road department was correct when they said grinding is really not a good government policy. It is a policy done by lots of cities, but it's done by lots of cities because they don't have the money. And so they grind. But over and over again, you see the grind, and you go back 2 years later and 3 years later, and it's back up again because you've done nothing to fix it. Now, there are times when you pour the new concrete and you could still see it come up, but far more often you get a longer-term, more permanent solution if you don't grind, but instead you fix it, because what you do is you lift that up, you cut that root, you apply what you can to keep the root from growing back in. So I'm now at the point where if I had to do over again, I wouldn't be there. I, quite frankly, voted for grinding as a concession here, and on a 3-2 vote, that passed. I wish I wouldn't have made that concession, because I think think of the amount of time just our staff has spent on this grinding issue, one. Two, they don't believe in it as a good policy. Three, it distorts the decision-making process, because when you go out to these residents and it says, most residents choose grinding, well, it's understandable. You give somebody a choice of, do you want to pay less now? But the problem will be there quicker, sooner. People are going to choose that. A lot of people are going to choose that. Pay less now and worry about the problem down the road when it just makes more sense to go forward. Also, it started us down the path. Once we made that concession, then it was, okay, first concession was to grind, then it's, well, let's pay for the grinding, and then it's, where does it end? And so, Supervisor Foy, I'm in the spot where you are, which is it just, there's, you start down this road, there's so many different, problems that keep cropping up. For example, the $25 per grind. So what happens if somebody has a $30 bill? Do we charge them the full $30 and they don't get any they don't get any of the 25, or do we charge them $5 and then are we sending a bill for $5 when it costs $5? So I just don't find an easy stop spot. If I had to do over again, I would have joined you in the vote to not grind, okay? But since we have started down this road of grinding, I think that's as far as I think we should go, because it just makes it even more problematic. And I can see what's going to happen is residents, it's already happened, some of my people are calling saying, hey, this place needs to be grind. You need to come out here, fix the sidewalk, and do this grind. We just can't have. But once we're notified, then we have this whole responsibility. But we're introducing ourselves. But the residents might think twice about how they would handle it if they didn't have this other option, and if instead we fixed it when it was time to fix it. So that's what I would offer in terms of perspective.
Do you have a lot of people asking a lot of that about sidewalk issues?
Particularly every time it comes up and it's sort of in the news and that stuff. But yeah, we have people,
I mean, you've had some areas where, like, the school decided to tax themselves to do certain things. Would they think of that as a way to do it?
Well, sure. I think that's a perfectly legitimate thing to say. See, look, if in your neighborhood sidewalks are important to you, look, we're an unincorporated area.
Right.
We don't normally do sidewalks, right? We don't do the same municipal services as a city.
Right.
If people want city services in the unincorporated area, then for people to set up a district to pay for those services is perfectly appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Counties are not going to provide municipal services like cities do because we don't have the density.
Yes.
And where there is that density, if that's what the residents want to tax themselves to do it, I think that's the perfect solution for that.
Yeah. And if it's an option, I don't know if it causes him problems, but
When we did Santa Rosa Road, I may.
Go ahead, Supervisor Parks.
The county paid half, which was the general benefit of the entire community, because not just the people of Santa Rosa Road use it. So that's in relationship to that. So while they tax themselves to get extra signals and synchronize the road, the county also paid its share for the general public, because anyone can use the roads just as anyone can use the sidewalks. The complicated factor of which are 25, what about properties that are $27 per grind? That's why I'm saying just pay for the grinding. $27,000 in the scheme of things is not much money, and you've eliminated a lot of people who are certainly going to have liens on their property. I think it's some 76 properties. Grinding is essentially this new technology that they have the ability to go in there and do it, and they can do it really cheaply. They've got some cool machines that can do it. And as a result, I don't think there are very many municipalities that don't use grinding. And while our staff is desirous of making sure we do the permanent solution, walk outside this door and you'll see that GSA grinds the sidewalks here. Walk outside the door of $1 million homes in Westlake Village and the sidewalks have been grinded and they're not lifting up. The properties you're talking about when you're driving and you're seeing these ridiculous, that has nothing to do with grinding, right? Those are properties that need to have their slabs replaced. So we're not walking into that hole. We're looking at having the ability to allow for grinding.
I don't think they are all agreed, unless there's something different here, that we're going to allow grinding, that was already been grinding?
Yeah, we have, the Board of Supervisors said do grinding, because before for
give an option for grinding, I guess.
They're spending over $150 to replace a slab that took $8 to grind, $7.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't think it's a grinding issue. I think it's still an option.
It's a cost.
Well, that Supervisor Bennett's throwing out, let's get, he doesn't support grinding anymore either. But I'm just saying that that's what municipalities use. We have the technology available to us. It doesn't cost much money, to the point that you have 100% of the people all want to have it. And the majority of all those people, that's the only issue that they have, is they have a sidewalk that needs grinding. So how we can be more effective as a government is to just go ahead and take care of that instead of going through this process, putting liens on people's property for $15. I mean, give me a break. It's just for a $27,000, and this isn't even a year because we're not constantly doing this year after year after year. We have properties. I think 57% of the properties with sidewalks are in my district. And it's basically Oak Park and Casa Conejo. We just did Casa Conejo. We're back on a second time for Oak Park. But it's to me, to go through this much effort, and when you realize what you're doing when you're putting a lien on someone's property, and the number of people involved, and the eyes that roll in the escrow offices, because now we've got, how many people have to deal with getting rid of this $15 lien on someone's property? It just, to me, make it simple, take care of what we can. It is a core government service, just like filling a pothole.
And it's something that will both go towards our county policy of health and all policies in terms of just taking care of sidewalks, in terms of grinding. And it's, to me, it really is kind of spiting, cutting your nose to spite your face.
But
or whatever. I mean, the whole
how
concept.
can you deal with the issue of my district doesn't have sidewalks, so the people in my district are paying, how do you deal with that?
Let me tell you, some supervisors back in the 60, 80 years ago went and approved urban development in the middle of the unincorporated county.
Right.
And so you have slots of urban development. You've been to Oak Park, a lot of you, Casa Caneo. It is no different than the city it adjoins.
I agree.
Now, because those supervisors made that decision in certain areas of the county and not in others, we're going to penalize those residents with those sidewalks? That's how I look at it.
Let me share something, Dave. Right now, if we do under $25 or over $25, everybody pays. Is that correct?
Currently, we bill for all work done, correct?
All work done. So I believe this is an equity issue, because in my district, we have hardly any sidewalks at all. So I think it's important that we have some equity here and everybody pay. If they do work, if it's under $25 or over $25, everybody pays their own equal portion of it. And my recommendation, after reading what you have in your report and what we discussed, I believe we ought to just maintain what we have now and not go into whether they pay $5 or $10 or whatever. I think just everybody pay their own, and I think that equity is much better for everybody concerned.
I guarantee you, in 15, 20 years, when the sidewalks that you just approved to pay county government funds to build in El Rio are cracking, you're going to want to have them not have to pay for it.
Those were, what is it, community, safe routes money, right?
Tax dollars went to pay for those sidewalks. It wasn't the residents.
But we have
when
minimal.
they crack and they lift, those residents are going to be knocking at your door. So I don't think it should be based on whose district it is in.
I think the issue is that we have the proper trees planted in those areas and make sure that they don't continue doing the same damage they were doing now.
Correct.
That's probably
but
one of the...
That's not grinding. That's replacement when it's
I'm not saying that grinding should stop. I'm just saying that it would be equitable.
That's what Supervisor Bennett has.
Supervisor Bennett.
Well, okay.
Then, I'll have Bennett and then you. You want to go ahead, Supervisor Long?
The question I had is, there was a issue stating that grinding does not work. And I'd like you to give us a little bit of, if you do grind a spot, how long does that last?
Grinding, from all of the study that we've done, is intended to be a temporary repair. Most of the cities do that because they have limited funding and they have a complaint, and so they need to do something to mitigate the complaint.
And how long does that temporary
They generally
last?
say 2 to 5 years at most.
Okay. Because the question I have is, we have this issue with the sidewalks and so forth, and I'm wondering if there's a compromise here of setting a $30 voucher for each home so that they can cover those costs, and anything over they pay. Therefore, we're providing more dollars to the issue, but at the same time, it's more of a 50-50, because some people in these unincorporated areas do get walked on, the sidewalks do get walked on just by county people, not just the homeowner. And so understanding that, just trying to see if there's a way to compromise this, not to pay perhaps the whole entire, because I'm looking at this as a countywide. So as soon as we pass this, and if we pay for all of this, then the question is, in Ojai, do all those people start to complain so that we pay for all of that? I'm just trying to understand as a policy overall what the best action is.
Yeah, and yours would be for not just for grinding, but any sidewalk replacement or anything? Because I was just looking, grinding is only $27,000. We take care of that and have the residents fund the ones that get out of hand and need to be replaced.
Right. It could be $30 towards grinding for your property done, not 5 times over. It's a one-time thing. It's a one-time payment,
Well, but let me just say that I know the $25 came around because our original thought was, if it's costing us $25 to do a $10 grind, why don't we just cover the cost? Because it should be cheaper, easier for them to do all the stuff. But I think Dave's been pretty clear about, it really doesn't cost them that much to do that. That's why this whole number of $25 came around. It really wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, the idea, but we have to be careful, because what we just said, if we did that, just if we take it out the next level, then you're going to have the people in Steve's district going, well, hey, come on, grind. You pay up to $25, get these grinds. You're going to have everybody then coming in there. Right now, most residents understand that sidewalks are taken care of by themselves, and then every once in a while we'll come around, we're doing roads, we'll try to give you a better deal. So once you say we can take care of it, then I can complain all day long, and then we're going to have to go up all the time. So this is a little bit different. And we did spend $27,000, that's true, but how much of the district did we really do around the whole county? Probably minimal amounts of the
But we're
sidewalks.
talking on like an annual basis.
I know,
We're
but-
probably not even doing 27,000, in terms of just the grinding annually. That's why I'm saying.
We don't know. We don't know. We don't
even.
even know, like he just said, 3 to 5 years later. And what you say, concrete doesn't wear out in 5 years.
right.
It's just a difference. The problem
It's
is
a
there
grinding
that brought it up. So we could be saying we ground that 27,000, then we ground this next year. Now those are all rising. Now we're back. So at some point, this is part of the problem, what you hear, that we go on, well, let's give this a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Goes back to the old adage, small holes sink big ship. We can't continue down that path of just keep doing this stuff. And we got to figure, especially when we know and people know by law that it's their responsibility. And it's been that way for historically forever. So
Supervisor
I know. Yeah. I'll make three points. One, I don't think it's not for nothing that our former CEO, Johnny Johnson, was just adamant every time he met with me, and I was the one that was having the issue. So I want to point out that although the question was said to Supervisor Zaragoza, I'll guarantee you that when those sidewalks in your district raise, you're going to want them repaired. The sidewalks in my district have been raised, and I've been telling everybody it's your responsibility. So before we were grinding it, so I've taken this heat on this, but I think I take it because I really respected what Johnny had to say, and that is, this is such a slippery slope. If you get in to starting to maintain all the sidewalks, you will it's almost an endless drain in terms of where you're going. So that's where he was. So I am a district, and I hope that if you were around in 15 years, you would say, hey, it's not good government policy for us to start down this way. These people put these in on their own and that kind of stuff. The other thing is, so anyway, those are my two major points. And I know people say, hey, people, getting a small bill, people ought to feel like they got a good deal if they got it and be able to do the grind. I know one of the things that staff has said is, after you grind it once, you kind of can't keep grinding it because it gets too thin and you have all those other problems. It is problematic, but I think certainly starting the idea of paying for it is what Johnny was. Whether we grind or not is one issue, but once you start down the road of paying for it is what I remember. Johnny, was adamant that is just a slippery slope, and I could really see this if we started paying for the grinds. It's going to get the next request will be, well, why don't we pay for the repairs also? The repairs last year weren't so much, and then it just goes and goes.
And in the past, supervisors, my apologies. It's really the residents' responsibility, right?
Correct. The Street and Highway Code.
By law, right?
Where the Street and Highway Code places that responsibility on the property owners. The ordinance your board passed in 2006 codifies that and includes the legal liability. And that's the main difference with the ordinance was the legal liability
And that's
for the
an
property
important
owners.
consideration that we need to take.
When Johnny Johnston was CEO, we didn't do grinding, and that would be a slippery slope in terms of the amount of money. If that's what this is all about, is the amount of money, I think now this is what we have before us that's different than any other time, is we now know how much it costs to grind and how much and how little of amount that is.
But one thing I do ask is the grinding that we're talking about is not as much money as the total of this $27,000. Is that correct?
It's actually less than $27,000 if we were to pay for it, because we wouldn't be paying for the $5 per household cost and 320 or 563 houses times $5. You'd add on to that too, so it would actually be less than the $27,000.
Supervisor Bennett.
Well, I know we have at 11:30, and I
This
think
is
we've had
receiving file.
another thorough conversation about this, and
I don't know if the.
so I'd be ready to make the motion to receive and file.
And that's the question I was asked about the motion is, I had asked that we have the opportunity to actually move forward if we wanted to pay for grinding, because that was that's the basis for the study. But I don't see it agendized if we wanted to, but it would be then to bring it back again if we
Yeah, this is a
wanted
receive and
to.
file, we'd have to bring it back, right, Leroy?
So we can't even have that motion. I would just ask that we bring back the option to pay for the grinding, not replacement, but grinding.
This is only a receive and file, we can't take.
That's correct, it's receive and file, but you can direct staff to bring it back.
Right.
Is there a way for us to kind of say we'd like to see, get 3 votes to see if we could bring it back versus doing that? So we know that we're not wasting staff's time if there's not a lot of interest here or not, or is there a way to do that? I know some boards do that. If you're going to bring something, you kind of see if the board wants to agree with that.
No, I don't think you can vote on whether you support the
idea of bringing it back?
Well,
to bring it back, we can share.
I think that's going to be a proxy because you could vote on. I think it'd be a violation if it's implied that voting to bring it back means you're going to vote yes. So,
Well, no, we wouldn't, yeah.
you know,
Could I just ask Supervisor Foy, would you be willing to consider paying for grinding, knowing that it'd be something in the
Paying for
neighborhood?
what?
Pay for grinding, knowing that it would be in the neighborhood of $20,000 a year?
No, I agree with that. I don't want to do that. That's what I'm saying. I want to be at a point where I'm just not interested in paying. I have no idea if they want to do grinding, which is, we moved them from doing whole thing to grinding. I'm good with that. My whole thing with the whole $25 was just the idea that because it was costing them so much, if they're already spending the money, spend it differently, but they're not, we find that out.
So what I think I'm hearing is there are 3 of us that are not, without violating the thing, without taking a vote, I'm hearing that there are 3, so I'm not supportive of bringing it back because, as you're saying, I don't think there are 3 of us, there. So that's why I will limit the motion to just receive and file, but not add, bring it back.
Because he's going to have to go through a whole lot of work and more board letters and all that stuff. So.
And my comments is keep it the same. Let's be equitable in this whole thing.
For the children?
I think that whatever you're doing now, if you're doing whatever work you're doing, people should pay for it. That's my recommendation.
And, just overall, again, today's been a day where I keep thinking, what is the county's mission in things? We can spend $500,000 for Boys and Girls Clubs. We can spend, $500,000 a year for museums. Those kind of things, it's nice to have the funds to do, but I think of them as extracurricular. But this, to me, goes right to the heart of why we are sitting here, why people pay taxes, and just the idea that it's not considered to be equitable because it's in one district, supervisor district, not another. I just don't think that is good government.
Okay, so
I would agree on that, on the Boys and Girls Club and any museums or any other things that nonprofits we shouldn't be paying for. So.
But I think Boys and Girls Club and museums and Boys and Girls Club is especially important for our youth, and I think it's important that that's going to save us more money than having to grind some sidewalk.
I'll vote to receive and file. I would like to do a lot more, though.
Okay, so please vote. Okay.
David, we leave you clear?
Exactly. Is that clear?
And I don't see you bringing anything back?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
then you're clear.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying.
Okay, our next item is item 40. It's a receive and file a study session by the Workforce Development Board of Ventura County regarding the activities and program for 2016-17. And
good morning to afternoon, supervisors. I'm Jim Fall. I'm the chair of the Workforce Development Board of Ventura County. I've been on the board for 8 years, and I thank you for this opportunity to share about the Workforce Development Board of Ventura County. A little bit about my brief background. I'm a product of the Ventura County schools. My parents have lived in Ventura County for over 40 years. I've owned my house in East Ventura County, Oak Park, for the past 18 plus years. My kids are in the Ventura County schools of Oak Park Unified. I'm a senior civil engineer at LC Engineering Group, which is in Ventura County, Thousand Oaks. And I have been and am the civil engineer for many projects within Ventura County, guess you'd say I like Ventura County. Today I brought with me a bunch of folks that will be there to support me, not only in the background to hold me up, but maybe to try to figure out how you move the slides, as well as to help me if I'm grinded with any questions. So, with that, the people that are here, if I missed your name, I apologize. There's Mary Navarro, Aldana. There's Greg Van Ness, Linda Fisher-Helton, Tony Skinner, Victoria Jump, Vic Anselmo, Donna Tovita Lasudia, thank you, Tracy Johnson, Patricia Duffy, Patrick Newbern, Heidi Hayes, Barry Zimmerman, Maurice Mock, Nancy Ambridge, and Rebecca Evans. So a quick overview.
Welcome.
I did miss somebody?
We-
Oh, there we go. Oh, you snuck in. Thank you. Tony, Anthony Morales. Okay. I was told that there was a clicker. They did a picture. Is this it
Brian
right
can
here?
help you there.
This is it? And I pointed somewhere? All right. That worked. Okay, so a quick overview of today's presentation. What I want to do is go over the role of the Workforce Development Board. Also want to go over the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act funds for Ventura County, and then share the board composition, share about some success stories, share about the congressional visits that we did, as well as share about the community awards. The role of the Workforce Development Board. We're a public board of local leaders from businesses, labor, education, economic development, government, and community organizations. And we're appointed by you all, the Ventura County supervisors, so thank you very much for the appointments. Our role is to administer the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act Title I funds. Also to provide oversight for WIOA Title I workforce development programs and services to benefit job seekers, workers, youth, and employers. Also, our role is to facilitate regional collaboration, alignment, and leveraging of public-private resources to support business workforce needs. Quick overview of the funds. Last year we got funds of about $5.9 million. This year they've come down a little, and it's $5.5 million. And I broke it up into three main categories: the adult, the dislocated worker, and the youth. Just some pictures of us in action here. We do meet regularly, and we do have very lively discussions at our meeting because the board members are very passionate and dedicated about their role in the community. Keep in mind, please, that we're all volunteers as well, so we're away from our businesses and away from our daily activities. A little bit about the board composition. I definitely don't expect you to read those, but we've got a bunch of folks that are from the business community, the labor, education, government and community organizations, as well as local additions. Some of the logos of the companies, again, from the business standpoint, from the government, from the labor, the education, and local additions. So our role, like I said, with all these different folks is to have regional collaboration. That is sometimes quite a challenging situation to deal with, but our board members, we're all very professional folks, and we get along very well, and we have, like I said, lively discussions and work together to come to solutions. Again, for the breakdown, we have for the Title I programs and services that are offered. For the adults, dislocated workers, and youth, we work with job transitions, job searches, and job preparation, help the folks to learn how to get a job. Employers, we have the employee recruitment, we have training opportunities, and we work together with the business information and services. For the community, we work with the labor market, the job seeker, and the employer, as well as do the regional collaboration by connecting, convening, and facilitating, and then unifying a community voice. I want to go through a couple success stories to share with you what these services really do for the local Ventura County folks. This is Brenda. Brenda is a high school graduate and was unable to find guidance at home. Brenda decided to enroll in the out-of-school job readiness program with Boys and Girls Club of Greater Oxnard and Port Hueneme. The workshop helped her to be more confident, and as a result, Brenda successfully enrolled at the community college. Her efforts paid off, and she was hired at Target and Boys and Girls Club of Oxnard and Port Hueneme in the after-school program. Brenda is now off to a great start in life. Chad had been in foster care system for the greater part of his life and dropped out of high school. Knowing he would be aging out at 21 years old, he knew he wanted to get his high school diploma. Chad sought the help of the Youth Network Services Program with PathPoint, funded by Services Program, and received financial aid to purchase school supplies, clothes, and gas to get to school. Chad graduated high school and is currently employed. He plans to enter post-secondary education soon. Noah was affiliated with local gangs and had dropped out of high school. As a result, he was referred to the Youth Network Services with PathPoint, funded by WIOA, to help him get back on track. After enrolling in the program, he discovered that he had senior credits but needed some encouragement and support to return to school. Noah's Youth Network Services Specialist helped him with the process, where he was able to enroll in school and receive his high school diploma. He is currently employed and is now enrolled at Ventura College and soon will be transferring to a 4-year university. Griselda struggled with speaking and understanding English and decided to enroll at VACE, which is the Ventura Adult and Continuing Education. With the help of the bilingual case manager under the WIO program, she was able to improve her communication skills. VACE assisted her with getting employed with a local manufacturing company where she recently received a promotion and is currently being considered to receive another promotion to production control assistant. Martha's position was eliminated due to a company downsizing, and as a result, she participated in a rapid response event given by the staff at the American Job Center, where she became familiar with WIOA services. After enrolling in the WIO program, she was able to update her office skills and received additional training. As a result, Martha was able to secure employment. And one that's not on the screen is the one that's near and dear to me is Nicole at my office. She is a civil engineer, and she went to school down in San Diego. She got a job in San Diego, but that took her out in the field. That field experience meant that she didn't get any computer experience. Then she decided to come back home to Oxnard area, and she didn't have the computer training. So she went to VACE through the WIOA funding, got computer training in AutoCAD. She interviewed. She did well enough in the interview. I hired her, and she's been over at the office for the last 2 years.
Great.
Every year we get to go to Washington, D.C. We have a nationwide meeting for the workforce development boards. We always take that opportunity to meet with our local elected officials at the Congress level. We met with Congresswoman Julia Brownlee in her office, and she was very supportive of both what we're doing in Ventura County as well as the funding. We then met with Congressman Salud Carbonell, and again, he was very supportive with the items that we're doing and the funding. One thing about his office, you can see he was very proud of his Oxnard heritage as the farming ones, and it was a really nice conversation with him. And we also met with Congressman Steve Knight. Once again, we found out that he was also very supportive of the programs and the funding. So a few stats. In order to get you have to have a plan. Everybody has to have a plan. So in order to do the plan, it starts with the Fed level, and then it goes down to the state, and then goes to the local. So with all the Fed work, with the different departments that are up there, without boring you with the details, it goes to the state plan. Then from the state, it goes to the regional, and the regional goes to the local. That's one of our main tasks that we do on the board, is to work to get a plan together that meets the federal and state requirements and works for our local community. Then what we were required to do is, through the American Job Center of California, was to have a memorandum of understanding. If you've ever had to do a memorandum of understanding, it's a challenge as it is if you just have two parties, but we were fortunate enough to have 17 parties. And we actually were able to get all of them together at the table over time, and they were actually able to sign the MOU document. Okay, making WIOA happen. Every year what we have to do is do a recertification, and this year what we want to do is to work together to better the American Job Centers of California system for customers. That might mean new services, collaborative partnerships, having innovative strategies, redesigning the service, delivery, as well as other transitional activities. So we get to tout something. Your board, your Ventura County, Workforce Development Board of Ventura County, was nominated and received what was called the High Performing Local Board Award. It's nice to get a plaque, but we actually got money. That money went into the fund as well. We got $54,838 from the state. And that's thanks to all the board as well as to all the staff. The staff usually doesn't get any recognition, so I want to make sure to recognize the staff. Okay, so for the Workforce Board, we have various committees. That's how we are organized and run. We have the standing committees, which is the management type stuff, the executive. We have the membership committee, the outreach committee, and a programs committee. Then to the meat of it, we have sector committees. And those are, I'll go through in detail as we go through, but the business services, clean, green, healthcare, and manufacturing. So for the healthcare committee, some of the highlights to be able to tout about. For the clinical lab scientist, the healthcare committee completed and received approval for the clinical lab scientist field experience program combined state application. 4 hospitals collaborated with Cal State University Channel Islands to create a local program to meet workforce needs. Again, 4 competing hospitals, if you will, came together. Healthcare case manager certification. The healthcare committee actively participated in the 2-region project with 6 Los Angeles workforce boards to develop a certification program for high-demand healthcare case managers. And then we have the associate to bachelor's transition. The healthcare committee continued to monitor and explore the associate degree of nursing to the Bachelor of Science nursing transition needs, as well as the challenges in our region. For the Clean Green Committee, the Clean Green Practices, they formed an employer awareness work group to develop a green practices message that would raise awareness in the region. For the water wastewater jobs, they collaborated with the community colleges on a survey to identify the water wastewater training and job opportunities in the region. For local apprenticeships, they coordinated with Leona, which is, I actually wrote it down. It is, I apologize. I want to make sure to give them recognition. Patrick, you remember, right? Labor, we can get it right. Actually, thank you. Wanted you to participate. For Leona to make apprenticeship training accessible through our WIOA eligible training provider list. Then the education training inventory developed a draft inventory of the clean green related education and training programs available through the community colleges, adult schools, and labor unions in Ventura County. Manufacturing committee, the manufacturing career ladders, and this is pretty neat stuff right in here with the manufacturing groups. Provided employer feedback on the initial VC Innovates draft for the manufacturing and engineering career pathways career ladder chart. Suggestions related to production, maintenance, and facilities, engineering, quality assurance, regulatory affairs, and supply chain positions. Manufacturing curriculum development provided the Workforce Development Board manufacturing readiness skills list and manufacturing employer feedback to help support the development of a Ventura College curriculum of 8 manufacturing-related courses. That's pretty nice. And then the manufacturing network development, this is also something that putting a round table together of competing interests, competing firms, but they came together, created a quarterly networking event to help engage businesses in manufacturing and workforce development. From Manufacturing Day 2016, opened the manufacturing doors to more than 300 students. That means those students got to go to these employers like Amgen or some of the other employers in town, and they got to see it firsthand. I don't know about, for me, when I was going to college, I did not like doing the calculations for engineering, and if I knew I was going to have to do that all of my life, I wouldn't do it. So I was able to go to an event similar to this, and it got me to stay motivated. So that day, we were told that the students were extremely motivated after being able to see it. For the Business Services Committee, this is a new committee that was formed and will focus on regional employer needs in occupations relating to the financial, real estate, and insurance services, professional, scientific, and technical, information and communication technologies, entertainment arts, media, publishing and printing, the retail, household goods and services, personal services, education and training, as well as government and public administration. So one of the fun things that we really get to do is we get to give some community awards. Those community awards, oh, thank you. See, support. It's always good to have support. Thank you. So the awards that we advertise out and people will get recommended for are the Youth Opportunity Award, the Champion for Prosperity Award, and the Collaborative Action Award. If you really want to know what the details are, I'll be happy to read it, but I'll just wait. So in the community, we were able to award for the Youth Opportunity Award, it went to the Oxnard Chamber of Commerce. For the Champion for Prosperity Award, it was awarded to the JR Bookkeeping. And then for the Collaborative Action Award, we had two recipients. One was BioDeco, and the other was a really collaborative effort. It's the Tech Center, it's called, which is, it includes everybody from Ventura County Office of Education, Oxnard High School Unionside School District, the California State University Channel Islands, Carpenters Union, Ventura County Civic Alliance, Department of Defense, Naval Air Warfare Center, GBL Systems, the local union, Dime 52 and Tri-Counties, Oxnard College, Tech Games, Congresswoman Julia Brownlee's office, Assembly Member Jackie Irwin, and Senator Hannah Beth Jackson. There they all are. So again, just a brief overview to give you kind of the glimpse of what we do. Just want to thank you for your continued support and for your continued your appointments to fill the seats.
Thank you, Jim.
Yep.
Thank you. What an excellent presentation. And I want to thank all the volunteers, all the folks that are here today, and the good work you're doing training our workforce. And I think it's important that we recognize that. And the volunteerism is extremely important, because I know right sitting here, you're even 1 hour's worth, you're talking a lot of dollars, that are being expended. But I thank you all for the good work, and for the excellent presentation you made, Jim.
Thank you.
Board members?
Okay. I also appreciate the partnerships. You've definitely developed some good partnerships, and you need that support. And I also appreciate the presentation on what lives you are changing. That makes a huge difference in people's lives, being able to get them the training that they need. And also looking at the future of the ability to go to those kind of disadvantaged communities, even thinking in terms of disadvantaged people with mental illness too, and looking what we can do to partner for them too. But I also just want to say thank you for your volunteer work on this. I know time is money, and you could be somewhere else. Appreciate that you're here helping us with this.
Relative to most of the other industrialized countries in the world, we spend a paltry amount of money on workforce training by comparison. And so these are really precious dollars that come from the federal government. And I feel it's just great to have a community of volunteers like you guys to make sure those dollars are spent properly. And that's really what I hope you'll just keep, being passionate about, trying to say, how do we get the maximum bang for our buck with these dollars to train the people here in Ventura County, because we sure don't have enough of them. Thank you.
Jim, I'd like to share with you, I've worked with Tony from Laborers, they helped us in El Rio. We actually paved a road, $500,000 of no cost to the taxpayers. And I want to thank them. And I know Tony Skinner, too, with IBW, training all his apprentice. I went to a graduation the other day, and it was just fantastic, the work that you're doing. And I know the rest of the business people are doing a great job. So thank you for an excellent presentation again.
Thank you.
Michael.
Thank you. Just thank you, and I really appreciate the business and labor leadership and your time, because things evolve, right, fast. And you're really listening, and I look at that, I think the green jobs and so forth, but case managers. 10 years ago, that probably wasn't on a lot of people's radars. But that's what's happening now, because you're at the table helping, listening to the business community. That's really making a big difference. The internships, apprenticeships, so important to giving young people a sense of what their careers could be. And also, I love the Business Services Committee, because one thing we don't talk about enough sometimes is accountants. We need more accountants. That's one of the things all businesses need, right? And so you're making that a focus as well. And we're also developing the county's first economic vitality plan, and we'd like you all to play a really important role in that. Build on the work that you already do, support your work, and combine it with other work like P20, if you're familiar with the P20 Council, which has all the educational institutions and is focusing on internships and so forth in the careers that you're highlighting. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. All righty, that's a receive and file. Please vote. That's 100% there, Jim. Approval. Thank you.
And thank you for all of you coming today. It really means a lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is our last item. We have closed session, right? Yes. Do we have any announcements after that?
There's no more announcements.
And we're going to adjourn
from closed session.
All righty, thank you.